Earth football, Cristiano Ronaldo thought I would go assist him. Hello again, dear adventurers of the multiverse. Thanks for joining us once more on this epic journey. Remember, this story is pure science fiction from our wild imagination. So don't go trying to summon dragons in your backyard. The rights of this amazing novel belong entirely to its original author. We are only the narrators. Do you want more adventures? Show some love to our YouTube channel with a subscription and a like. And if you want exclusive content, our Patreon is waiting for you with open arms. Chapter 176. Maxi was terrified of being exposed. He was quirky and unpredictable on the field, but remarkably low-key off it. So much so that, despite being the leader of the three R's, Rivaldo, Ronaldo, and Ronaldinho, he later became the least memorable to fans. Such a person wouldn't disagree with Deng Kai's statement. Similarly, Beckham felt a little better after hearing Deng Kai's words. Victoria was even happier. The Ballon d'Or wasn't important to her, on the contrary, Beckham's undeniable good looks were perhaps more valuable. Deng Kai's statement undoubtedly highlighted Beckham's overlooked talent, a quality that would become his trademark. Victoria had already figured out how to cultivate this brand. Other professional players also agreed with Deng Kai's point. Because of the different leagues, several players are often qualified for the Ballon d'Or. Choosing one is certainly not wrong. But is it wrong for others to win? No. Deng Kai brought this situation to the forefront, offering some psychological comfort to players who narrowly missed out on the Ballon d'Or and FIFA World Player of the Year awards. It's a mixed bag. Following the awards ceremony, the Ballon d'Or winner indeed sparked heated debate. Beckham has far more fans than Rivaldo, but Rivaldo is the central figure. Moreover, Beckham himself didn't express much dissatisfaction in the media. Rivaldo didn't offer any targeted response, lest the situation escalate. Ultimately, Deng Kai's assessment circulated most widely. People generally accepted Rivaldo as this year's Ballon d'Or winner, but no one would object to awarding it to Beckham. Along with these discussions, the price of Beckham's autographed football skyrocketed, becoming extremely difficult to obtain. To buy one, you had to stake out the black market in Lisbon, Portugal, where one or two occasionally surfaced. Later, a blind box auction of autographed footballs even appeared. Each auction guaranteed one Beckham autographed football. Of course, there were also autographs from other stars, but they weren't always from those stars. Buying one blind box was extremely expensive, equivalent to buying 20 Guardiola autographed footballs or 5 Figo autographed footballs. Of course, there are occasional blind box auctions featuring Zidane and Ronaldo. Basically, if all these blind boxes were sold, the profit would be nearly 10 times higher than buying them at the actual price. Deng's parents were almost going crazy. Was this robbery? But Deng Kai said that this was already a conservative estimate. If they had the resources to manage it properly, 100 or even 1,000 times the profit wouldn't be a problem. In the future, those blind boxes will cost a couple hundred yuan each, but will the contents be worth 5 yuan? That's many times the profit. Now, when people buy things, they look at the item's actual value, which is easily calculated based on cost. In the future, they'll look at the price the seller is charging, and they can say whatever they want about the added value. There will always be buyers. Thus, in the Lisbon football fan community, "Damn, it's Guardiola again," gradually became a common expression, generally indicating bad luck that day. Fans would joke among themselves, saying things like, "Did you play Guardiola today? Bullshit. You're the one playing Guardiola. I'll play Guardiola for your whole family. You'll be Guardiola your whole life." When Guardiola came to Lisbon to sign contracts with advertising partners, he couldn't stop smiling. Is the Guardiola level in Portugal really that high? Even the local Spanish fans don't adore me this much, they talk about me all the time, right? Time moved into 2000. January 4th, Sporting Lisbon played against Desporta. January 11th, Sporting Lisbon played against Boavista. The team achieved 2 consecutive victories, boasting a terrifying record of 15 wins and 3 losses this season. Deng Kai's total stats for the first half of the season were 25 goals and 19 assists, winning the top scorer and assist leader titles for the first half of the season. The team then entered the winter break. January 15th, the FIFA World Player of the Year awards ceremony was held. Beckham missed another opportunity, finishing second. Batistuta came in third. Rivaldo reached the pinnacle again, winning 2 of the most prestigious football honors within a year. Beckham's popularity surged once more. Being handsome isn't scary, What's scary is being handsome while also being melancholic, with a tragic past. Who wouldn't love a man with a story? Keanu Reeves' experiences are partly why he's so popular with audiences later on. Beckham's reputation is evolving from simply being handsome to being so handsome that even his hard work is overlooked. Isn't this more positive than just looking at good looks? It adds a layer of character. It starts with good looks, is captivated by talent, and stays loyal to character. Beckham has achieved all three in one fell swoop. He lost the Ballon d'Or, but he gained the sympathy of women worldwide. It's hard to call this a loss. However, beneath the wave of the Ballon d'Or and FIFA World Player of the Year awards, some undercurrents are stirring in the world of football. Sporting Lisbon officially announced the dismissal of their first team coach, Augusto, on the second day of the winter break. Because the team only finished sixth in the Portuguese league in the first half of the season, a drop from their fourth-place finish last year. Keep in mind, they spent a lot of money to bring in several star players, including Jardel. Augusto expressed his frustration with Sporting CP's dismissal. Jardel scored 18 goals in half a season, a record that dominated the field. Quaresma, who just joined the first team this year, contributed 6 goals and 6 assists in the first half of the season. And Semedo last year? He only scored 10 goals in a whole season. Augusto even felt he had exceeded expectations. The star players were performing well, but the team's results were still not good enough. Wasn't this because the team didn't have enough star players? What's the point of firing me? From beginning to end, Augusto didn't think there was anything wrong with his assistant Maxa. The tactical ingenuity he designed for Jardel and Quaresma was something Augusto had only seen with Ronaldo and Duncan. The interconnected coordination and demands were something even Jardel and Quaresma struggled to execute. To truly reach Maxi's ideal level, perhaps Ronaldo and Zidane would be needed. Moreover, Maxi goes to the training ground before dawn every day and doesn't leave until after dark. He's always the last person to leave the team. Where can you find an assistant coach like that? Maxi says, "I can't sleep, I really can't sleep. I dream about people finding out I don't understand tactics at all. I only know how to apply the tactics Keanu Reeves mentioned, but if you ask me why or how to do it, I don't know. If I knew so much, would I be content to be a youth coach for the U15 team? Keanu Reeves, Ter Stegen, when are you going to save me? I'm afraid of being cyberbullied by fans. I'm afraid the club will fire me." Augusto isn't exactly unknown. He was recently released and found a new job in the Portuguese second division, coaching Gondomar. When he left, he invited Maxi to go with him, recognizing Maxi's abilities and wanting to introduce him to his connections to help Maxi go further in the coaching profession. Maxi declined. He didn't quite accept Augusto's approval of him. Even now, it was still unclear who the real mastermind was. Maxa felt Augustus hadn't lost out by being released. Maxa didn't dare go too far. He believed that Kai and Mr. Trigla would eventually join the first team. Chapter 177 leading them to promotion. Everyone thought so. Even Deng Kai had already said goodbye to his teammates in the youth team, preparing to be promoted to the U19 team by Trigura for a month, then to the U21 team, and then to the reserve team. He would basically be able to play for the first team in the second half of next season or the year after. He believed that he and Ronaldo had the ability. Before leaving, he gave a lot of advice to Wu Zedong and other players from the Chinese group, telling them to stick to training, think more about tactics, develop their own characteristics, turn their strengths into absolute advantages, start as role players and not focus on becoming superstars directly, etc. However, on the fourth day of the winter transfer window, Sporting Lisbon officially announced that Giuseppe Materazzi, the famous coach who had coached Lazio and other top clubs, had accepted the team's invitation to become the team's head coach. Instantly, the fans cheered. Even some veteran fans knew that it should have been Trigura's turn. But with the support of a famous coach, what are the club's veterans? Moreover, Trigura had a huge disadvantage, that is, he had never coached a first team before, he had always been a youth coach. Just because you can train talents like Semedo and Quaresma doesn't mean you're suited for the first team. The pace of youth teams and professional teams is completely different. This official announcement also completely disillusioned Trigura with the team's management. In their eyes, choosing sides was more important than ability. They would rather trust two strangers than someone they knew well and who was capable. The book's standpoint can be said to be Trigura's biggest takeaway from this incident. Subsequently, Trigura contacted Deng Kai. His first words were, "Kai, would you like to come and play with me?" At that moment, time seemed to go back a year and a half. The words "Coach, I want to play football" still echoed in his ears. This time, Deng Kai didn't hesitate at all. He had said that Trigger had made the right bet. From now on, it was Trigger's harvest season. "Coach, I'm willing to come and play with you," Deng Kai said. Trigger was somewhat moved. He had thought Deng Kai would refuse, and he even blamed himself a little. What if he ruined Deng Kai's future? "It's not a great place I'm going to," Trigger said frankly. "It's the Portuguese second division, Moreirense." Deng Kai's tone was relaxed. "Going back to the Portuguese Super League is only half a season." Trigger added, "We're tied for last place in the league with 2 other teams, so I might have to stay in the Portuguese second division for another season or 2. Deng Kai's tone changed slightly. "Going back to the Portuguese Super League, isn't that also only half a season?" Trigger was stunned. "Don't worry, boss. Apart from physical strength, Ronaldo and I are already at a professional level, and in many ways, we're even better. I believe we can bring something different to Moreirense," Deng Kai reassured Trigger. "But you're not even 15 yet," Trigger said. "Players at this stage are in their developmental years. Excessive physical contact only creates the risk of injury and offers no benefit." Deng Kai replied, "Ronaldo and I are different from other players, you can definitely tell. In fact, I simply can't stand playing in the youth team anymore. If I can't make it to the first team next season, I'll proactively request a loan. The intensity of youth matches can no longer help Ronaldo and me improve. We've already done everything we should at this stage. You've clearly seen Quaresma's performance this season. His technique is excellent, but his ability to handle the ball under high-intensity pressing and physical contact is significantly weaker. Only players who can withstand high pressure can become superstars. The Portuguese second division isn't particularly intense, but it's still a high-pressure environment for Ronaldo and me. I believe we will make significant progress there and truly step into professional football. Okay, I hope I won't let you down, and I hope we can create a miracle in the Portuguese second division." Trigger joked somewhat, not believing the team could achieve promotion in the second half of the season. The two then hung up the phone. "Honey? What's wrong?" Trigger's wife rushed back immediately after learning about the Sporting Lisbon head coach selection, knowing her husband must be extremely upset. "Nothing, a friend said he supports me." Trigger quickly wiped away his tears before turning away. "That's really kind of him. It's not common for a friend to remember you in front of Materazzi." Trigger's wife hugged him. "Yes, he's very kind." Trigger smiled. He was exceptionally capable, but also very risk-averse. Between youth coach and head coach, he gambled on the former, believing it was the only way to cultivate superstars, solving Portugal's problem of going from 0 to 1, that was the most important thing. But he was wrong. People didn't pay attention to youth coaches, the head coach's status was always higher. Among head coaches, those skilled in building systems and operations weren't as sought after as those skilled at winning championships and reaping honors. This was a results-oriented society. But Trigger had a premonition that discovering and unconditionally trusting Deng Kai might be the best gamble of his life. Meanwhile, Deng Kai also promptly informed Ronaldo of this news. Trigger initially felt that personally speaking to Ronaldo would show more sincerity and respect. However, Deng Kai argued it wasn't necessary. He believed his persuasive skills were more effective. "Deng Kai, Ronaldo, honestly, the U17 league is a bit boring. I even managed to win both the top scorer and top assist title at the halfway point. Do you think you can overtake me in the second half of the season and ultimately win both?" Ronaldo, looking utterly exasperated, retorted, "I only played half a season, you played a whole season, how could I possibly overtake you?" "Deng Kai, that shouldn't be the case. I think with the difference in our abilities, even if you played half a season less, your stats shouldn't be worse than mine." Ronaldo, of course. While saying this, Ronaldo was secretly panicking. He was confident he could surpass Deng Kai in goals, but assists, that wasn't his strong suit. The crucial point was that Deng Kai was the one truly in possession of the ball. If Deng Kai didn't pass him the ball, he might not even score. No, playing in the U17 league was incredibly unwise. "Deng Kai, by the way, I heard Mr. Trigger is going to coach Moreirense in the Portuguese second division and wants to loan a few players from the club. Speaking of which, the environment in the Portuguese second division is actually quite conducive to the development of players like us. The players there aren't particularly outstanding in ability, but their attitude is very professional. The pace of the game isn't fast, but the physicality is sufficient. I heard their Golden Boot winner only scored 12 goals in the first half of the season. When the intensity of the game increases later in the season, their Golden Boot winner probably won't even have 20 goals for the entire season. Ronaldo's eyes lit up, and he interjected, "We can go. Win the Golden Boot, oh no, play professional football." Deng Kai shook his head. "That's just the Portuguese second division, the starting point is too low, isn't it? I'm actually okay, but I've always felt that you should be the kind of talented player who makes a name for yourself in the Portuguese Super League at a young age. Going to the Portuguese second division would be a waste of your potential." Ronaldo didn't mind at all. "It's okay, it's just a loan. As long as we perform well, we might make it into the first team when we return to Sporting Lisbon next year." "Is that all you're thinking? You've disappointed me greatly." Deng Kai suddenly became serious. "If you're just planning to play around and don't want to take responsibility, then I won't let Mr. Trigura take you along. If I were to go, I'd only have one goal, to lead them to promotion." Ronaldo was stunned for a moment. Had he suddenly become so ambitious? "Kai, you know, once I'm on the pitch, my only goals are victory and goals. I'm 100% responsible for football," Ronaldo explained. "I want to go to Moreirense, and I hope you can come with me. I just don't want you to feel pressured." Deng Kai looked at Ronaldo. "Then why do you want to go?" Ronaldo nodded. "Yes. To lead them to promotion." Chapter 178 Professional Football, starting now. Cristiano Ronaldo then proactively called Trigura, hoping to secure a train ticket to Moreirense. Trigura was overjoyed and couldn't possibly refuse. The manager simply gave Trigura a mental thumbs up, thinking, "YYDS." Subsequently, Trigura used his connections to loan players from his faction, including Duncan, Ronaldo, and Font, to Moreirense. He handled both sides, so the loans went very smoothly. Sporting Lisbon couldn't possibly refuse Trigura so easily. After all, Trigura was a club veteran and a youth academy hero. On matters of core interest, the head coach position, the management would rather make a mistake than let a competitor win. But in less important areas, they were happy to put on a show. For example, when Moreirense officially announced Trigura as their head coach for the second half of the season, Sporting Lisbon's official website displayed a grand banner bidding him farewell, wishing Trigura great success at Moreirense. Sporting Lisbon fans will always love you. See how touching that is. What a humane club. The club's management has such a broad vision. Anyone who truly knows what happened behind the scenes would never become a club fan. But the reality is, players have their peaks and troughs, and there are off-field influences. Player fans can easily become disillusioned. Therefore, some fans dare not look directly at their favorites and instead claim to be club fans. Because even in a club's lowest point, there are always relatively shining stars to prevent a collapse. Meanwhile, many Sporting Lisbon fans have noticed the loan moves of Duncan and Ronaldo. They believe this move is somewhat inappropriate. Two 15-year-old players going to play in the Portuguese second division, isn't that a bit too much of a pushover? Trigura bringing his own players is understandable, but why not find players from their first team? Even the reserves would be fine. Will Duncan and Ronaldo be ruined? After all, the developmental environment is crucial for players. In this era, 17 or 18 is roughly the optimal age for a player to enter the professional arena. Any earlier, and it smacks of pushing too hard. Any later, and it suggests you might not be good enough. Such small-scale discussions will not yield results. But one person is destined to get hurt in these discussions, and that is Font. So no one noticed that I was also loaned out. Throughout the winter break, Deng Kai and Ronaldo did not stop training. In fact, Deng Kai's training volume was slightly greater than Ronaldo's. This is because Ronaldo was doing rehabilitation and adaptation training, while Deng Kai was doing weight training. Ronaldo was very envious of this and also wanted to do this kind of weight training, but Deng Kai rejected him. "Cristiano Ronaldo, you're younger and shorter than me, why can you do it but I can't?" Deng Kai was speechless. "Your description is easily misunderstood. I'm younger and shorter than you, that's called being short, but my development is relatively stable, so I can lift weights. But you're still growing, so you can't. You still have the chance to grow taller and run faster, understand?" Ronaldo sighed. "Kai, you need to have confidence in your height, or why don't you get the same injections Messi gets?" Deng Kai, This isn't something that can be solved with injections, but I won't be 1.65 meters tall forever, don't worry. This height is enough for me now, and when it's not enough, I'll have a way. Ronaldo looked terrified, a leg-sawing rebirth? Deng Kai slapped him across the face. Thanks to the end of his growth spurt and the adaptation over the past half-season, Deng Kai's personal statistics took another leap before strength training equals overall technical rating. 63.93 attacking positioning. 68 plus 3 ball control. 76 plus 1 dribbling. 67 plus 4 shooting. 60 plus 5 set pieces. 61 plus 4 long passes. 64 plus 5 short passes. 76 plus 2 defensive positioning. 63 plus 5 interceptions. 61 plus 3 tackling. 49 plus 5 blocks. 40 plus 4 clearances. 45 plus 5 heading. 51 plus 6 curve. 58 plus 4 equals overall physical rating. 66.75 speed. 61 plus 6 acceleration. 65 plus 5 step frequency. 73 plus 2 footwork power. 58 plus 4 jumping. 55 plus 4 strength. 55 plus 5 agility. 73 plus 2 stamina. 61 plus 5 equals vision. 8 left foot. 3 right foot. 7 plus 1 injury resistance. 3 plus 1 durability. 5 equals this data improvement mainly comes from physical enhancements. After adapting to his body, his technical attributes also improved. This included improvements in Deng Kai's right foot and injury resistance. This improvement differed from those achieved through long-term training. It was a natural result of physical development. This is what makes many physically gifted players so exceptional. They don't even need training, their bodies grow, and their individual abilities skyrocket. As Deng Kai intensifies his training later, some of his attributes will see significant improvements. However, aside from that, his personal stat increases will slow considerably over the next period. The winter break ended. Major leagues were preparing to resume. Deng Kai and Ronaldo had already rented an apartment in Moreirense. With all his teammates returning, they got to know each other better during team training. Deng Kai quickly grasped the team's strengths and weaknesses. Overall, it was indeed a terrible team. Moreover, they lacked ambition, making promotion this season virtually impossible. Not only was the team at the bottom of the standings, but crucially, their two only truly star players had transferred to Portuguese league teams during the winter break. One of them was even going to be a substitute. The oldest player on the team is currently 33-year-old captain and centre-back Manuel Altino. Next is 30-year-old goalkeeper João Ricardo. Then there's 29-year-old centre-back Orlando and 28-year-old midfielder Armando Macedo. Several other players are 27 and 26 years old, all of whom have played for the team for a considerable time. Their mentality is rather laid back. Deng Kai is actually quite happy about this. Because another meaning of laid back is not competing or vying for anything. Therefore, the team didn't object to Tragura's absurd decision to make Deng Kai the midfield core. You can appoint whomever you want, as long as you don't appoint us, we can just coast along. Of course, Moreirense also has several younger players, mostly products of the youth academies of bigger clubs, who came to the Portuguese second division to seize their last chance. If they can't make it here in a year or two, then they're not as good as the group of older, laid-back players who are still at Moreirense. Don't think the older players are less skilled, they've been in professional football for almost 10 years. Most of the weaker young players won't last more than 4 years in their professional careers. The only bright spot on this team might be their own youth academy product, centre-back Gilip, who is 19 years old this year. He's a player for the Portuguese national youth team. And a consistent one at that. He and Quaresma have both been teammates on the national team. However, Moreirense clearly can't keep Gilip, and it's estimated that he will join a Portuguese league team after this season. He can be a starter at a non-elite club, and at a top club he'll be on the bench for a while, but he'll definitely get playing time. The young player wants to push, while the veteran wants to coast. Their styles don't match. No wonder Moreirense is at the bottom of the standings despite not having the best squad in the Portuguese league. After Tragura joins, his first task will be to unify the team's mindset. Chapter 179. It's never too late to start making an effort. Moreirense Football Club, head coach's office. Although it was late at night, Tragela, his assistant, and Deng Kai were still organizing data. The starting center forward, Anderson, is 22 years old, 1.88 meters tall, a perfect center forward template, but his footwork is lacking, and he can't act as a target man. At the same time, his shooting is also poor. His pre-shot motion is too long, often allowing others to intercept. Heading is okay, though. 3 out of the 4 goals scored so far have been headers. But Moirins, apart from a few rare opportunities, basically has no chance of crossing. They have no forwards who can break through to the byline. After the assistant finished speaking, Deng Kai nodded and said, "Okay, if his footwork isn't good, he can use his head and chest to act as a target man. As for creating scoring opportunities, I can handle that. I just need him to keep the ball in the attacking third." This wasn't unusual, as this wasn't the first time Deng Kai had said this. The entire team's starting lineup and substitutes were determined based on Deng Kai's playing habits. Mr. Trigella, however, was very supportive and cooperative with Deng Kai. This assistant, who had been an assistant coach at Moirins for so long, swore he had never seen anything like it. Were Trigla's children kidnapped by Duncan? Alex, 22 years old, 1.76 meters tall. It's not written here, but I know Alex is the fastest in the team, the assistant coach began. However, due to the team's conservative tactics, he almost never gets a chance to push forward except during counterattacks. Also, his crossing is very good. I've always believed that if he had received better training from a young age, he had the potential to become a Beckham. But he was ultimately eliminated by Porto's youth team because his defense was too poor, and his physical strength was lacking. He lost possession with the slightest touch. Deng Kai thought for a moment. Fast speed, good crossing, poor defense and physique. These characteristics could make him suitable for an attacking or even diva-style fullback. All attack, no defense. It just so happens that the team's right winger, Flavio, has good dribbling skills but lacks speed and the ability to get to the byline. Alex can fulfill that role, creating a two-pronged attack with Ronaldo on the left. Assistant coach, Then the defense. Deng Kai, when Alex goes up, Jilup's position shifts to the right. His speed is an advantage. Macedo can drop back to form a false center-back to protect the center. Aren't Cordero and Macedo competing for positions? Whoever can better cover the gaps left by Jilup's movement will be the team's starting defensive midfielder. Emerson, as an all-around midfielder, is responsible for sweeping behind me. Later, when the team gains confidence, he can also participate in the attack. Finally, Duncan and Trigura finalized the team's starting lineup equals Ronaldo, Anderson, Flavio Emerson, Macedo, Duncan Serafin, Font, Gilip, Alex Ricardo equals Cordero, midfielder, Altino, center-back, Orlando, center-back, Gomez, goalkeeper, and others are important substitutes for the team. The team uses a 4-3-3 formation, mainly attacking down the flanks, with Ronaldo's left flank being the strong side and main attacking route. In actual matches, Duncan's positioning is closer to that of an attacking midfielder, very close to the left flank, not as far away as seen in the formation chart. This is also thanks to Duncan's improved running ability and speed. Flavio on the right wing is mainly responsible for receiving passes and will position himself relatively inside, attacking the gaps and the flanks when opportunities arise. Alex is the true attacker on the right wing, responsible for crossing the ball. Alex's crosses have two levels. Crosses from the byline mainly aim for the center of the goal, basically Anderson's area. Crosses from a 45-degree angle can be placed at the far post to find Ronaldo. The gaps created by Alex's runs will be filled by changes in the defensive formation. However, this essentially leaves the team's original captain and starting center-back, Altino, without a place. The soul of this defensive line lies with Gilip, whose role is irreplaceable. Goalkeeper Ricardo is more reliable and experienced than backup goalkeeper Sergio Gomez, so he will definitely start. However, Gomez has stronger coming-of-back ability and more potential. In fact, it didn't take long for Duncan, Ronaldo, Font, Anderson, Alex, Gilip, Gomez, and others to become familiar with each other. They are all young, and they have common interests to talk about. Trigura's tactics largely revolve around these young players, who, as beneficiaries, naturally need to maintain good relations with Trigura's representatives, such as Duncan. These are very practical considerations, something Ronaldo wouldn't encounter in the youth academy. Youth academies focus more on development, where everyone cultivates their strengths under the coach's guidance. But professional teams prioritize results, and sacrificing individual characteristics for the sake of success is normal. Anderson, lacking in footwork, naturally wants more crosses from his teammates. Alex, with his speed, naturally wants to play attacking. Gillip has long wanted to stop being a substitute for Ronaldinho. He wants to be a starter. Now that their wishes have been fulfilled, they naturally want to exert themselves. On January 27, the 16th round of the Portuguese second division kicked off. Moreirense's opponent was Penafel, who had just escaped the relegation zone. This indicates a certain gap in strength between the two sides. Pre-match betting odds favored Penafel. Trigueros as a rival didn't bring much confidence to Moreirense fans, because instead of Jardel and Quaresma, he brought Ronaldo and Duncan. Font, I'll say it again, I'm here too. Can you guys please not ignore me? As it was the first professional match for both Deng Kai and Ronaldo, the three of them, or rather, Font, were incredibly excited. But soon, Ronaldo's interest in professional football diminished considerably. In the 13th minute, Ronaldo received a pass from Deng Kai on the left wing and attempted to break through his opponent. After several feints, he started using step-overs. He felt he was about to shake off his opponent. He had even planned his next move after getting past him. Bang! The opponent used a dangerous tackle to dispossess the ball at Ronaldo's feet, bringing him down as well. The crucial point was that the opponent hadn't committed a foul. Ronaldo was extremely dissatisfied on the ground, believing that although the opponent touched the ball first, it was a dangerous move and he should have received a card. However, the referee ignored Ronaldo completely. In professional football, results matter more. Besides, the referee even thought Ronaldo was too fragile. He had a good chance of not falling after being tackled, and Ronaldo's sudden collapse looked like a performance. This highlights the difference in standards between professional matches and youth training programs. Ronaldo felt he was being treated unfairly. Little did he know, the other player was also glaring at Ronaldo, inwardly cursing. What the hell are you showing off? Chapter 180. Because of the goal, they were at a disadvantage. In the 17th minute, Ronaldo received the ball again and attempted to dribble past an opponent, but this time the opponent rushed at him and knocked him down. The referee blew his whistle, awarding Moreirense a free kick in the attacking third. However, after knocking Ronaldo down, the opponent said, "Kid, this isn't a circus, stop your ridiculous and ugly dance performance. You're like a monkey jumping around." "What did you say?" Ronaldo got up. "What? Want to fight?" The opponent puffed out his chest. He was taller and stronger than Ronaldo, with a full beard, and looked like a tough guy. Ronaldo was a little intimidated and didn't say a word. Fortunately, his teammates rushed over and helped Ronaldo out of the situation. He was only a 15-year-old kid, and entering the professional arena was like facing opponents from a much smaller world. He was bound to be a little overwhelmed for a while. This wasn't cowardice, it was unfamiliarity. If something like this happened in a youth training match, even if the opponent was stronger than Ronaldo, he would have retaliated or even fought back, because he knew how to behave in that kind of environment. This is like how many young men in their mid-20s, fresh out of college, still habitually greet working women, office ladies, or women in their 30s with "hello, auntie." It's meant to be polite, but for the latter, it feels offensive. It's mainly because they're not used to calling everyone sister, not because they genuinely don't know how. After this conflict, Ronaldo's breakthroughs decreased. He started passing back more, causing a stalemate on the left flank. Ronaldo seemed unsure of how to play. Deng Kai noticed Ronaldo's confusion, so he shifted the ball to the right flank, changing the attacking focus. In the 31st minute, Deng Kai received a back pass from Flavio on the right flank and suddenly launched a deep cross. Right back Alex, who was already making a run, used his speed to overtake the opposing left back and successfully receive the ball. Alex feinted and pushed, then crossed directly. The move wasn't particularly sophisticated, but the opponent was fooled. The ball curved into the penalty area. Bang! Anderson out-jumped the opposing center-back to head the ball into the net. Goal. Anderson. Beautiful header. I didn't expect Alex to have such a cross. He didn't show these skills in the first half of the season. Deng Kai's lobbed pass was very long, giving Alex plenty of space to sprint. Was this planned beforehand? It would be difficult for anyone but Alex to receive that ball, at least not Flavio. If Moreirense can get 3 points today, they will go from last place to third from last. Because the other two last-placed teams have already lost. Deng Kai thought everything would be better after scoring. His momentum had increased, his intensity had unconsciously risen, and scoring again wouldn't be difficult. However, this Morirant's team was different from the teams Deng Kai had played for before. After scoring, the whole team became remarkably passive. In other words, the entire team retreated to defense. This was definitely a tactical arrangement by the coach. But this arrangement was clearly wrong. Because there are techniques to retreating. As mentioned in Arteta's tactical whiteboard, the key to positional defense isn't just positioning, but defense itself. Defense is a verb. When you're defending against an opponent, you have to be proactive. You need to press them, compress their space with a ball, and limit their reaction time. But what about Morirants? Their players' understanding of retreating was simply to stay near the edge of the penalty area, not giving the opponent any space to break through, while simultaneously preparing to contest crosses from the wings. But couldn't you at least prevent them from crossing? At the very least, you shouldn't let them cross so easily, right? These things are hard to notice in regular training, but by the time you realize them in a match, it's too late. In the 10 minutes after Morirant's goal, Peniful launched a relentless, storm-like attack. The number of attacks in just 10 minutes exceeded the total number of attacks from both sides in the previous 30 minutes. Did Peniful suddenly become stronger? Duncan's performance was incredibly frustrating. What's the difference between this and the future Manchester United? Could that lousy Manchester United team score? Of course they could, and they were always ahead. Couldn't they take the lead? They can lead, they always lead. But they always get equalized and overtaken. Why? Because they feel worse after scoring than after conceding. The whole team retreats, retreating without defending, as if they're helping the opponent launch an attack because they can't. In this situation, they almost intentionally break down their own forward and midfield lines, completely exposing their defense to the opponent's attacks. Such a defense will naturally be full of holes. Even if you put 4 of the world's best center-backs in there, they'd be riddled with holes. No, we can't play like this. Go up front. Deng Kai told Ronaldo to go back to the front line and not come back. Because the team's center-forward Anderson and right-winger Flavio had both returned. The team's structure was completely compressed by the opponent, losing its layering, and any pass from the opponent could break through the entire team. So Ronaldo moved up. There were some boos around. Because everyone was retreating to defend, and Ronaldo was the only one not retreating, did he think he was Ronaldo? But fortunately, Ronaldo's personality has never been afraid of others' doubts. Since Kai called him up, there must be a reason. In the 42nd minute, Font made a crucial interception. If he couldn't stop the ball, there were 2 Peniful players behind him waiting to shoot from the penalty spot. Decado would definitely be devastated. Bang! Font passed the ball to Deng Kai. Bang! Deng Kai turned and fired a shot without even looking. The pace of the game suddenly accelerated. A normal game rhythm, starting from defense, is generally retreat, intense defense, possession battle, clearance, control of possession, waiting for teammates to run, penetration and advancement, key passes for attack. But Deng Kai, from the point of possession battle, suddenly became a key pass for attack. Too many steps were omitted. This is the function of a metronome in the transition between attack and defense. It's also the effect of De Bruyne's intuitive passing that allowed Deng Kai to do this. After passing the ball, Deng Kai was fouled by the opposing number 8 player. It was clear that the opponent intended to foul Deng Kai from the beginning, not giving him a chance to organize an attack. But the opponent was clearly a step too slow, or rather, Deng Kai was clearly too fast. The referee made a favorable signal for attack. Because in the attacking third, Ronaldo was sprinting forward. Peniful pushed too high, leaving Ronaldo alone for less than 3 seconds after his initial run. The ball was too far away, and the Peniful goalkeeper couldn't come out to intercept, only able to watch as Ronaldo received the ball and continued his charge towards him. After Ronaldo entered the penalty area, the Peniful goalkeeper started his run, trying to create trouble for Ronaldo. But Ronaldo was very composed, creating space with a lateral movement before firing a low shot into the net. He didn't waste this one-on-one opportunity. It's the last day of the group stage, and I'm laying my cards on the table. No more pretense, I'll show you what I'm capable of. Portugal's starting lineup featured the lazy Leo. His ability isn't the problem, but his attitude is. He didn't get a starting position by playing passively, he earned it through hard work. This is the national team. South Korea always plays dirty. Portugal getting a draw is already a big achievement. Both sides scored, resulting in a draw. Ghana's defensive approach, lacking aggression, gave Uruguay's midfield relatively loose space to handle the ball, and Uruguay's three midfielders performed perfectly, guaranteeing a win. Switzerland struggled to withstand Serbia's attack. Switzerland lost. Brazil rotated their squad, and players who hadn't had many opportunities before played very hard, displaying the spirit of Samba and achieving a resounding victory over Cameroon. Chapter 181, using an offensive approach to defense. 2-0. Ronaldo scores. He breaks the record for youngest goal scorer in the Portuguese second division. Incredible. A 15-year-old scores in a professional match. That one-on-one was too good. Of course, Deng Kai's pass was absolutely brilliant. It was a textbook counter-attack. It seems Trigueros has brought a lot of changes to Moreirense. Moreirense is very likely to achieve great results in the second half of the season. Lying on the ground, Deng Kai didn't think the situation was so optimistic. Just before that goal, Moreirense was only half a second away from conceding. If Van Font hadn't stopped him, the situation would have been very different. The key is that this situation shouldn't have happened in the first place. Hey kid, get up, stop pretending. Penaful's number 8 player passed by Deng Kai. Deng Kai immediately got angry. Pretend? Perhaps many people don't understand why players curl up on the grass after being brought down in football, wondering why they don't get up immediately if they're not injured? Are they trying to get the referee to give them a card by playing the victim? But actually, it's easy to understand. Football is played with feet. Whether trying to stop the opponent or intercept the ball, once contact occurs, it's usually around the ankle. That area is practically skin and bones, with almost no flesh. A bump or knock can really hurt. And this pain can't be relieved immediately. You can't rub it or move it, you have to wait for time to heal. So the grimaces on the faces of players who are brought down are mostly genuine. That kind of pain really lasts for a while. Lying on the ground is largely a way to wait for the pain to subside. Otherwise, immediately getting up and exerting force will cause even more pain in the area that was just kicked, the kind of pain that feels like capillaries are bursting. So Deng Kai wasn't faking it. The opponent might not have used much force, but Deng Kai's pass itself was quite powerful, so the contact was quite painful. And regardless, the opponent kicked Deng Kai's ankle. How could he pretend he didn't do anything? Who the hell are you calling faking it? Deng Kai suddenly turned around and yelled at the other player, "You kicked me. You should get a yellow card, understand? You're talking nonsense. You're faking it. You little bastard." The opposing number 8 player straightened his chest and shoved Deng Kai aside. Deng Kai immediately retaliated, pushing the other player away. The other player didn't expect such a hot-tempered youngster and stumbled, falling to the ground. Many members of the Penaful team were stunned. That Ronaldo looked taller, but he calmed down after being repeatedly knocked down by their right back. Why did Deng Kai seem more difficult to deal with? Whistle. The referee blew his whistle and ran over. Ronaldo, who was preparing to celebrate after scoring, also noticed the conflict behind him and rushed over immediately. By this time, several people were already pulling Deng Kai and the number 8 player away. Both sides were trying to control the situation. You can't even handle this much intensity? What kind of professional football are you playing? Go back to your youth academy. This isn't a place for you to play house. Penaful number 8 wanted. Oh? Is that so? Well, your playhouse skills are really lacking. You're down 2-0, you know? If it weren't for so many dirty fouls, could you have stopped Ronaldo? You couldn't even touch the hem of his jersey. You should have gotten yellow cards long ago. Deng Kai retorted, not backing down. Ronaldo then realized that Deng Kai's conflict with the opponent had its reasons. Otherwise, a midfielder as excellent as Deng Kai wouldn't have exploded so easily. Deng Kai had already felt that the opponent's defense was a bit excessive. But the referee didn't notice this immediately. Seeing the referee approach, Deng Kai immediately turned his attention to him, saying, "I know professional matches are more intense, and intensity isn't the issue. We can accept physical contact, but a foul is a foul." Their number 2 player already showed his studs when he tackled Ronaldo. This number 8 player tackled me from behind. That has nothing to do with intensity, it's a foul that should be severely punished. The referee was furious. Are you trying to teach me how to play? Deng Kai immediately spread his hands. Of course not, but I want to say that although we're young, we're not ignorant of football. The implication was that the referee had better be fair, as he could see the misjudgment. This put some pressure on the referee. The referee nodded and then showed Deng Kai a yellow card. You just pushed the opponent. At the same time, The referee also showed a yellow card to the opposing number 8 player for kicking Deng Kai's ankle from behind, a dangerous move. The next few minutes were filled with tension. If it weren't for halftime, a red card would likely have been issued. Halftime, in the locker room. Triglav was furious. On the way there, Deng Kai had already spoken with him, and Triglav himself had noticed the team's passive play after scoring. Who do you think you are? You think a 1-0 lead is secure? Last year in the Champions League, Bayern were 1-0, and what happened? Manchester United scored 2 goals in 1 minute, and Bayern became the biggest loser. Look at the standings. We're at the bottom now. Relegation, do you know that? I know many of you think your football career is over, so what if you're relegated? But have you thought about your salaries? Relegation will reduce your salaries, do you know that? Kirip, if you keep playing like this, your market value will only decrease further. I've said it before, in your central defensive partnership with Font, you're responsible for coming out and sweeping. Where were you just now with a ball? Kirip replied, inside the penalty area, I was worried they'd cross. Trigura, then don't let them cross. If you come out, they might not even have the chance to pass to the wing. Alex, Seraphim, why did you two fullbacks both drop back into the penalty area? Where are the wingers you're defending? If the opponent had just switched the ball, were you not going to rush out? Defense, I've said it many times, you need to defend. Silence fell in the locker room. No, it's not defense, Deng Kai broke the silence. Many people looked at him. Had this guy completely lost his mind? Daring to contradict the head coach? Deng Kai raised his voice. Perhaps everyone doesn't quite understand what Coach Tridra means by defense. Let me tell you, it's offense. Defense with an offensive mindset. When you see their attackers, don't just retreat. Charge forward at the right time. Pressure them. Charge them. We don't expect to definitely win the ball, but we absolutely cannot let them have a cup of coffee near our penalty area without being pressured. Chapter 182 The Lost Ronaldo, Kai on a bicycle. Be aggressive. We must keep either the ball or the player. Letting them cross, letting their attacking players combine in our defensive zone, that's already a defensive failure. It's not about waiting in the box for them to cross and then getting the ball. Judging from the expressions on the Moreirense players' faces, many of them only now understood what Triguri meant by defense. So that's how it is. No wonder the coach was so angry. What they had been doing was completely opposite to what the coach wanted to see. I know it's hard to change everyone's defensive habits immediately. I'll arrange specific defensive coordination and training later, Trigura continued. In the upcoming matches, I won't make things difficult for everyone. There's no need for everyone to rush out. Kilip, in front of your defensive zone, when the opponent's main attacking player has the ball and is preparing to attack, you need to rush out of the penalty area to put enough pressure on them. You don't necessarily have to completely dive out, but you need to have the posture to do so. You understand defense, you should be able to do this. Marcito, you need to dive out before Kirip. He's there to fill your gaps defensively, understand? Both fullbacks, I can accept the opponent crossing from your defensive zone. But I can't accept you doing nothing about it. A series of arrangements were laid out. Many players might not fully grasp them. For example, Marcito, positionally, is supposed to be a defensive midfielder covering for Kirip when he moves laterally. However, in practice, when Kirip isn't moving laterally, he needs to cover for Marcito when he's defending. If their understanding isn't good enough, there will be gaps in the middle, which is very dangerous. But even so, it's better than no arrangement at all. The second half began. Penafel made some special arrangements. They mainly attacked Moreirense's right flank, focusing on Alex. Alex's defense was indeed weak. Even when he held his position, he was often easily beaten. Fortunately, Moreirense's defense became more aggressive, not giving the opposing attackers enough time to organize their play. 3 of their crosses were thwarted. In the 67th minute, Moreirense launched an attack down the left flank. With Alex pinned down, this became Moreirense's only opening. However, Ronaldo, somewhat hesitant to use fancy moves, was dispossessed. He had been repeatedly fouled and verbally threatened, making him feel that fancy moves were ineffective, so he simply lay down after receiving the ball. Lacking variation, he naturally lost control of the game, losing possession several times. Penafel made several passes from midfield and defense, eventually getting the ball to Alex's side. Alex, the sieve, was beaten again. The opponent delivered a cutback pass. This time, Kirip and Font couldn't prevent the goal 1-2. Penifel pulled one back. Their morale was even higher, and their attack became more threatening. In the 70th minute, Deng Kai, who already had a yellow card, was in good form and made a successful interception in the backfield. He dribbled past a defender with a long ball, then dribbled laterally to regain his rhythm, without launching a surprise attack. Seeing his center forward Anderson in position, Deng Kai then launched a high ball from the backfield directly to Anderson. Anderson held off the opposing defensive midfielder, controlled the ball with his chest, and then raised his arms to protect it. Ronaldo and Flavio began to make runs, drawing away several defenders. At this moment, Deng Kai also moved forward. Anderson passed the ball back to Deng Kai, then made a run to receive Deng Kai's pass. As a result, Deng Kai used the Marseille's turn to get past a pressing center-back. With a defensive midfielder pulled to the side by Anderson, a huge gap appeared in front of Deng Kai. Bang! Deng Kai accelerated with the ball, advancing through the middle, straight at the goalkeeper. Penifel's other center-back quickly came to cover. Deng Kai repeatedly dribbled the ball with both feet, performing a series of step-overs. Something that had disappeared from Ronaldo's game was now present in Deng Kai. As Deng Kai increased his step-overs, the opponent retreated continuously. Finally, the opponent couldn't hold back any longer. He stretched out his leg. Bang! Deng Kai's right foot caught the opponent's shin after he flicked the ball, and he fell forward. Foul. That's definitely a foul. Oh. Wait. This position. When Deng Kai did the step-over, he seemed to have already stepped into the penalty area. Yes, when Deng Kai touched the ball, he had already stepped into the penalty area. Penifelipe. It's a penalty. The referee pulled out a yellow card. Penif's center-back is arguing, he's very helpless. But it's no use, the referee has decided on this yellow and penalty combo. Moreland's first penalty taker is transferred, the second penalty taker is also transferred, the third penalty taker is Altino, but he's sitting on the bench. Deng Kai stood at the penalty spot with the ball, his eyes resolute. Anderson, who was going to take the penalty, wisely withdrew from the penalty area. Deng Kai was ready to fight with everyone on the field today. He definitely wanted to respond with a goal. At the same time, he did play at a midfield core level on the field, and he created this penalty himself, so he certainly had the right to take it. Furthermore, his joint discipline of his teammates with Trigura during halftime was also impressive, giving the impression of him becoming a locker room leader. Look at Ronaldo, who previously took more penalties than Deng Kai in the youth academy. Didn't he even ask for a penalty? Ronaldo must be thinking to himself, WTF, I scored a goal, but my overall performance was poor. How could he have the confidence to ask Deng Kai for a penalty in a situation like this? Would Deng Kai just slap him? If he plays well, Deng Kai will naturally give him a penalty. If he plays poorly, there's nothing he can do if Deng Kai asks for one. Ronaldo is calm. Deng Kai is probably the only one he won't fight for penalties with. After all, he still needs Deng Kai to avoid creating chances for him in the future. Bang! Deng Kai's penalty was decisive, a powerful shot to the right. Penifel's goalkeeper thought Deng Kai was going to try something fancy, a Panenka penalty. Young people love that kind of showy style, right? So he stood in the middle without moving, only turned up kneeling, unable to even make a save. 3-1. Moreland seals the victory. In the 80th minute, Trigura replaced Ronaldo, who had been fouled before even getting going. Despite Ronaldo's poor performance, he remains the team's most dangerous player. Once he adapts to the pace of the Portuguese second division, he's definitely a Golden Boot contender, and he can't afford to be injured easily. In the 85th minute, Trigura substituted Duncan because Duncan had a yellow card. A second yellow card would result in a red card, which would be a significant disadvantage. Although only one game has been played, everyone has already realized that this team cannot function without Duncan. Then, in the 88th minute, Moreland, having lost their attacking threat and midfield maestro, conceded a goal. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 183, Still Need to Bring in Reinforcements? Penifel launched a relentless attack in the final moments. Fortunately, Font, Gillip, and substitute Altino had enough numbers to clear the ball with a flurry of headers and volleys, securing those precious 3 points. After the match, Trigura strongly condemned the opposing players' actions. Penafnal's players were too aggressive. This isn't the normal pace of the game. Their players provoked our players first. Their number 8 should have received a red card, not a yellow. Our victory was normal. In fact, if it weren't for their foul on Ronaldo, we could have scored more goals. Similarly, Deng Kai, in an interview, stated, "Anyone who watched this game knows that Ronaldo and I don't need special treatment. We are capable of playing in the Portuguese second division and play very well. But the premise is that we need to be treated equally. A foul is a foul, a dangerous action is a dangerous action. You can't say that a dangerous action against us goes unpunished because it's the other side trying to intimidate us. It's a tradition for veterans to intimidate newcomers, but it shouldn't be a factor influencing the referee's decisions. Everyone has been a child, and everyone has children. Time and experience make you different from children, to make you wiser, not to make you prejudiced against children." The two, mentor and student, delivered a powerful and insightful commentary. The Portuguese second division hasn't been this lively in a long time. Ultimately, Trigura was fined €2,000 by the league as a form of commendation. The fine wasn't much, but the message was clear. No more complaints. Trigura generously paid the fine, and seemed quite pleased with himself. Cristiano Ronaldo, unaware of the logic, asked Duncan if Trigura had gone mad with anger. Duncan then engaged Ronaldo in a long discussion to try and clear his head. Everything has two sides. The worst thing about complaints is that they go nowhere. As long as there's a result, even a bad one, it gives the complainant more information. Deng Kai pushed open the office door and, finding that Trigura and the others hadn't arrived yet, continued, "The official punishment of the boss seems to indicate dissatisfaction with him. But it also means they heard what the boss said. Whether considering the boss's huge influence in youth training or the huge following we have, the Portuguese league officials will investigate this matter. The punishment means, we know, we're working on it, so please don't say anything more to avoid escalating the situation. After all, nobody wants their team's every little problem to be discussed worldwide." Ronaldo suddenly understood and exclaimed, "He's got it." A little while later, Trigura and the assistant coach arrived. They were going to review the previous match today. The reason they brought Ronaldo wasn't because he was capable of participating in such reviews and team tactical decisions. Rather, they wanted him to share his feelings about the match, since his performance was the second issue to address besides the team's inability to play after taking the lead. Ronaldo played very unlike himself. Cristiano Ronaldo, "It's not that I'm afraid of them, but when I had the ball, I felt like I didn't know where to start. Not everyone can accurately express what they're thinking." Young Ronaldo still had a lot to learn in terms of communication. This is why in many success stories, the young player often needs a master who is better at expressing themselves and understanding people. "Deng Kai, you were thinking, shouldn't you have tried to dribble past them with fancy moves?" Ronaldo quickly nodded. "Deng Kai, but if you don't use fancy moves, you'll always get entangled by the opponent because your intentions are too obvious." Ronaldo nodded again. "Deng Kai, so much so that in the end, you feel like you can't get past them anyway, so you simply stop trying and choose to pass back." Ronaldo's head was spinning. "No wonder he's my bunkmate, Kai understands me." But then Deng Kai smiled slightly and said to Trigura, "This is a typical example of a promising young player entering the professional arena and being intimidated by seasoned veterans, experiencing a brief period of disorientation." Ronaldo was completely bewildered. What does typical mean? There's only one player in the world named Cristiano Ronaldo. I'm unique, you know? Don't talk like I'm just an ordinary guy. Ronaldo didn't like that feeling. Trigura, as a youth training expert, was more knowledgeable in this area. In fact, Ronaldo is already one of the better players among those who encounter these problems. Ronaldo's face lit up. "See? Even when faced with typical problems, I'm still the unique one." Of course, Trigura changed the subject. "There are also a very few special players who don't encounter this situation, like you, Deng Kai. You haven't had this problem. After being maliciously fouled, you even deliberately used fancy moves to attract their defense and provoke them into irrational fouls. Oh, this is just an outstanding performance that a great future midfield maestro should have in his youth. Nothing to mention, don't mention it, don't mention it." Deng Kai waved his hands repeatedly. The assistant coach looked puzzled. Where? Ronaldo was heartbroken. Since you guys get along so well, should I leave first? After the review, Trigueros made targeted adjustments. Ronaldo needed to rebuild his confidence in dribbling past opponents. The key is to strike a balance between fancy dribbling and minimalist dribbling. This is something every winger must learn, no one can help him with it. Regarding the team's tendency to lose their rhythm after taking the lead, Trigueros has implemented targeted training programs. However, seeing results will be difficult in the short term. Ultimately, this team lacks the DNA of a strong team. To completely eradicate this problem, besides mastering pressing defense through long-term practice, they also need to build the confidence of a strong team. They need to win more games. They need to win big. So in the short term, the only way to compensate for this is through player signings, Deng Kai summarized. We need to bring in a midfielder with extremely aggressive defensive play. Trigueros added, such players are hard to find, and even if we do, they're not easy to train. In the future, aggressive might describe a player with strong mental attributes, hard work, and a love of physical contact. But in recent years, it's been a derogatory term, generally referring to players who are extremely irrational on the field, irritable, thoughtless, and prone to getting cards. I do know someone, Deng Kai said. There was a player in Benfica's youth academy who was quite famous a few years ago. He was loaned out to another team for a year and just came back this year. I heard that the reason he came back was that the other team didn't want him, and he had a fierce conflict with his teammates. The key is that Benfica didn't want him either. They even tried to loan him out in the summer, but no one was willing to take him on. Chapter 184 The most outrageous recruitment in history. Trigueros immediately knew who Deng Kai was talking about. He knew the Portuguese youth academy inside and out. You mean Benfica's Manish? I don't remember much about that player, only that he has a bad temper. It seems he hasn't shown any outstanding technical skills. Manish, whose real name is Nuno Ricardo de Oliveira Ribeiro, yes, without a single character from Marquinhos, that's the Portuguese for you. Their naming conventions are truly bizarre. There's even a whole course dedicated to studying their names. Manish is only 22 or 23 years old, still an unknown player. But in the future, he will become famous as Mourinho's first disciple. Porto, Chelsea, Atletico Madrid, Inter Milan, he's a true prodigy of many clubs. But his greatest strength isn't there, it's his stunning performances for the Portuguese national team. In 2 consecutive major tournaments, Manish helped Portugal eliminate the powerful Netherlands with his goals, earning him the title of Netherlands' nemesis and solidifying his status as a world-class star. He is one of the most formidable defensive midfielders in Portuguese history. The following day, Moreirense seized the tail end of the winter transfer window and submitted a loan request to Benfica. They were willing to accept Manish if Benfica was willing to sell him at a low price. This could be considered the biggest support Moreirense's owner could offer Trigueros. Benfica agreed without a second's hesitation. It was clear they disliked Manish at this time. However, the deal was rejected by Manish himself with lightning speed. The media was very interested in this transfer because it was made by Moreirense, a club that had been a major player in the winter transfer window. Trigueros' only designated buyer. This alone was something no ordinary player could refuse. Manish, at his age, certainly knew Trigueros' strength in selecting and developing players. Reporters bombarded him with questions. Manish, don't you want to go to the Portuguese second division? You're aiming for the Portuguese first division? Do you think Moreirense's tactics aren't suitable for you? Don't you like the weather in Moreirense? Do you have any disagreements with Duncan and Ronaldo? Otherwise, why didn't you join? Faced with a series of questions, Manish immediately cursed, because they want to bring in a defensive midfielder. The reporters all said this was not surprising, it was normal for a team with Duncan as its core to have 1 or 2 defensive midfielders. Seeing that the reporters had also forgotten something, Manish couldn't hold back any longer. And me, I'm a right winger. Oh. The reporters were in an uproar. Manish was a right winger. Damn it, after being loaned out, everyone forgot what position this player, who had no presence at Benfica, played. But then again, telling a right winger that we need you to come to our team as a defensive midfielder, it felt a bit unbelievable that Manish didn't immediately curse, he didn't seem angry at all. This was simply the most outrageous signing in history. I beep you beep beep beep. Manish's subsequent Portuguese chant was censored. This has become a laughingstock in the Portuguese transfer window. Just how unprofessional was Trigueros to bring in a right winger to play as a defensive midfielder? Of course, Trigueros was also embarrassed, because he genuinely couldn't remember what position Manish played. Deng Kai said to buy. So of course they bought him. Trigura trusted Deng Kai's judgment. In the first half of the season, everyone said those Chinese players weren't good enough, but what was the result? Sporting Lisbon U17 still qualified for the North and South divisions as the top team in their region, didn't they? Faced with so much criticism, Deng Kai gave an interview to reporters on the day the winter transfer window closed. Responding to the incident, Mr. Trigura certainly knows Manish is a right winger. He simply saw in Manish the qualities a good defensive midfielder should possess. To be honest, in my personal opinion, Manish playing as a defensive winger is nothing. Nobody remembers him, and the media can attest to that. But Manish playing as a defensive midfielder has the potential to become a national hero for Portugal. Whether he comes to Moreirense or not is unimportant, but I hope Manish can focus on himself and find the path that best suits him. These words sparked even more discussion. Deng Kai's words were too grandiose. Too boastful. Bora newspaper, who does Deng Kai think he is? Does he know how shameful it is to have a right winger playing as a defensive midfielder? Does he know what it means to be a national hero for Portugal? Even Figo wouldn't dare say that about himself. Bora launched its attack. Record, with Figo and his golden generation leading Portugal into the European Championship finals. Why shouldn't they call themselves heroes? Whether in their developmental stage or late in their careers, what's shameful about players changing positions? Aren't there plenty of players who have seen a leap in performance after changing positions? Record was biased. Finally, Bora bluntly stated, regardless, Moreirense, without strong signings in the winter transfer window, can't achieve good results. Don't forget they're still not out of the relegation zone. You have acquired a blue player's skills. Curved free kick and volley. Curved free kick. The curve of your free kicks has been improved, making it easier to clear the wall. Volley. Your volley accuracy has been improved. Because of your friendly relationship with Zidane, when you attempt to volley with your left foot, there's a chance to activate the special effect Heavenly Flying Immortal, greatly improving and optimizing the power, curve, speed, accuracy, and trajectory of the ball. Deng Kai looked at the two skills and was satisfied. Heavenly Flying Immortal. Before the 2002 Champions League final even arrived, Deng Kai had already tried Zidane's spectacular long-range shot. This was like being a beta tester. Wasn't it better than some kind of electrocution bike? After all, even a failed long-range shot is still a volley. But if Ronaldo's electrocution bike fails, it's just slipping on the ball and losing the bike altogether, too risky. That's why Deng Kai still hasn't dared to try the electrocution bike on the field. Mainly, he doesn't have the nerve. On February 2nd, the 17th round of the Portuguese second division kicked off. Moreirense challenged Feirense, another team near the relegation zone. Moreirense's schedule has been quite favorable lately. They won't face a top-ranked team until near the end of the season. This gives Deng Kai and Ronaldo plenty of time to adapt. Of course, it also means Moreirense is likely to suffer a losing streak towards the end of the season. In the 29th minute, Ronaldo's breakthrough on the wing created a corner kick. The breakthrough was initially unsuccessful, blocked by the opponent, but Ronaldo was lucky enough to get the corner kick. Yesterday's match, well, I thought it would be a bunch of younger guys carrying Ronaldo to score, but it turned out Ronaldo led his teammates to victory. Today marks the start of the round of 16, and it's time for Ronaldo to get serious. Attention, attention, the miracle of Ronaldo has officially begun. The Netherlands were rock solid, the US struggled to score, and their defense collapsed after conceding. Despite their weak attack, the Netherlands still managed a 3-0 victory over the US. Argentina had problems on both ends of the pitch, while Australia played a defensive game and counter-attacked decisively. Australia eliminated Argentina 1-0, creating a miracle. Chapter 185: A stubborn illness that is hard to cure. Deng Kai took the corner kick, but unfortunately, the opponent won the first header, and the ball flew out of the penalty area. Moreirense's left midfielder Emerson controlled the ball. He wanted to organize a run, but the opponent's pressing was too strong, so he could only pass it back. In fact, if it were Deng Kai, he would have shot the ball into the penalty area, because there was a defensive gap when the opponent pressed. But Deng Kai's ability to hold on to the ball didn't mean Emerson could. The team's left back, Seraphim, received the ball, and Deng Kai ran out of position and dropped back to receive it. After receiving the ball on the left flank, Deng Kai dribbled laterally, looking for an opportunity. Feirense had also done their homework on Deng Kai, knowing that this player's passing was very threatening, so they didn't continue pressing, but instead prepared on the defensive line to prevent Deng Kai from suddenly passing the ball. This honest defensive habit doesn't seem to be unique to Morirans. Weaker teams, seeing the opponent preparing to pass, assume the opponent will pass out, thus abandoning the pressing and dropping back to the defensive line to prepare for the first ball. It seemed like a far-sighted move, but in reality, it skipped the effort and went straight for the result, giving others more room to maneuver. If they continued to press, Deng Kai would only be able to pass the ball back meaninglessly. But since they didn't come up, Deng Kai had more time with the ball. Here. Over here. Deng Kai pointed to the left side of the penalty area with his left hand, clearly indicating that Anderson should run to the left to receive the ball. Anderson immediately made a run, drawing away a center back and attracting everyone's attention. While communicating with Anderson, Deng Kai suddenly flicked his right foot, sending the ball flying to the right side of the penalty area. After the corner kick, right back Alex, who had been roaming on the edge of the penalty area, suddenly surged forward, unmarked at the far post, and fired a low shot at the ball. A very comfortable shot. The ball hit the back of the net 1-0. Morirans scored the opening goal in 2 consecutive matches. Oh. Ferenc made a mistake. They gave Duncan too much space to handle the ball. Duncan and Morirans' players don't yet have that deep understanding, but if you give him enough time to communicate, he can still deliver those brilliant passes that directly tear apart the defense. Look at the time from Alex's start to Duncan's pass. Ferenc just watched helplessly for so long. But to be honest, taking the lead isn't necessarily a good thing for Morirans. In the few games this season where they scored first, they only managed to hold on to the victory in less than 30% of them. They clearly can't adapt well to having an advantage. As expected, Morirans reverted to their old habits, the players habitually retreating. Defend out. Defend out. Show some passion. Don't just retreat. Triguri reminded the players on the sidelines. Duncan also gestured for the defenders to retreat, but then followed with a forward-charging gesture. The meaning was that everyone should retreat, but once the opponent crossed the halfway line, they should pounce. This is actually Real Madrid's future style of play. Possession-based teams like to pass the ball around in their own half, luring opponents out. Counter-attacking teams also like to park the bus in their own half, drawing opponents out. The intentions are similar. Sure enough, with Morirans' defenders pressing aggressively, Ferenc failed to create the attacking opportunities they expected after gaining possession. Their shots were fewer than before. During this time, Morirans did launch 2 threatening counter-attacks. Once, Ronaldo missed the target. The other time, Flavio's touch was too heavy, and the ball was collected by the opposing goalkeeper. But in the 72nd minute, the lack of coordination between Morirans players led to serious consequences. Masita was drawn out of position by the opposing midfielder. Kilip had been helping Alex defend, leaving the edge of the penalty area open. Ferenc's defensive midfielder moved up and unleashed a long-range shot from that position, a beautiful strike that leveled the score 1-1. In the 78th minute, things worsened. The team's versatile midfielder Emerson went down after a collision and was unable to continue the game. Triguri replaced Emerson with substitute defensive midfielder Cordero. With 2 defensive midfielders and Duncan, Morirans' midfield technicality was significantly reduced. If Duncan wanted to lead the team's attack, the team's front and back lines would become disconnected. Therefore, Duncan was even less able to push forward. Morirans' attacking power further weakened, and the opponent began to have more attacking attempts. The 2 sides battled until the 89th minute. Cordero made a crucial interception. Ferenc played a through ball in the middle. If the pass had gone through, their striker would probably have had a one-on-one opportunity by beating the offside trap. However, Cordero is not Emerson. The latter is said to be able to attack and defend, while the former is a true defensive workhorse. On a single level, Cordero is stronger. Bang! Duncan received the ball and immediately played a through ball to Anderson. Morirans had a 3-on-4 situation in the attacking third. Considering the distance between the 2 full-backs, it was almost a 3-on-2 situation in the attacking third. Bang! Anderson passed the ball. Deng Kai almost stopped mid-air. Because he knew it was over. Anderson passed the ball too early. By passing without drawing the attention and movement of the opposing defenders, Anderson essentially turned a 3-on-2 situation into a 2-on-2. And the quality of that pass was quite poor. No wonder the reports that he lacked the ability to act as a target man. His vision and passing were poor. He could only be used as a receiving point and a battering ram. Anderson passed the ball to Ronaldo. Ronaldo accelerated, but the opponent was in a better position. Ultimately, Ronaldo got to the ball first, but was immediately knocked down. The referee blew his whistle, awarding Moirants the free kick in a good position, a direct shot. But in reality, this should have been a guaranteed goal-scoring opportunity. Anderson's ability to pass an 80% chance of scoring like this is why he plays in the Portuguese second division. Portuguese second division players. So, Coach Kai, you're playing in the Portuguese Super League? Due to Emerson's departure, the team lacked a first-choice free kick taker. Cristiano Ronaldo and Duncan both stood near the free kick area. "Come here, my foot hurts," Ronaldo said, coming over to screen for Duncan. The Firenze players formed a wall. A whistle blew. Ronaldo started running. He ran past a ball's trajectory. The wall didn't react. Firenze's judgment was correct. They thought Duncan was the real taker. Bang! Duncan followed up and fired. The Firenze wall still didn't jump. Because when they studied Duncan, they discovered that his long-range shots didn't have a high arc, and all his free kicks were low, ground-hugging shots. So they were certain that Duncan would take the free kick again this time. Chapter 186: The Significance of Techniques. The football grazed the wall, curving into the goal. Beautiful. A direct free kick. Deng Kai puts the team ahead again. Considering the time, this could very well be a game winner. What's wrong with Firenze's wall? They didn't jump at all. This is a huge mistake. Firenze's goalkeeper is baffled. He's blaming the wall players. Firenze is underestimating Deng Kai's free kicks. Deng Kai has scored many world-class goals. How could his free kick skills be lacking? Is there a midfield maestro who isn't good at free kicks? No. Absolutely not. Deng Kai. Ultimately, thanks to Deng Kai's goal and assist, Moirants secured their second consecutive win of the second half of the season. Deng Kai has contributed a goal and an assist in 2 consecutive matches, seamlessly integrating into the team. Meanwhile, Cristiano Ronaldo, who shone even brighter in his youth academy days, contributed in the first half but still experienced a goal drought. Yes, a goal drought is also called a game without goals. After all, everyone can see that Ronaldo's performance has significantly declined compared to his youth academy days. Some media outlets have raised a crucial question. After heart surgery, Ronaldo seems to have become mediocre. Injuries ruined the Portuguese genius, Cristiano Ronaldo. Quaresma's successor has faded due to heart disease. Simeo no longer dominates on the left wing. Ronaldo has lost possession the most in 2 consecutive matches. Only 1 goal and 0 assists in 2 games. Would he be even better if he hadn't had heart surgery? The pseudo-genius was bound to be exposed sooner or later. Ronaldo's strength in the youth academy was merely due to his speed and physique beyond his years. Under pressure in a professional team, he performs terribly. 2 games, 1 goal, 1 yellow card, and several free kicks and corner kicks. This is clearly a good performance, but compared to Ronaldo's past performances, it has become a sin in the media's eyes. After all, Ronaldo in the youth academy averaged 1.5 goals and nearly 2 goals created per game. These comments directly led to Ronaldo spending even less time on the training ground. The Moirants players were all intimidated by Ronaldo. This level of training, had he found money on the training field? He was working way too hard. The veterans had long since stopped doing extra training. The younger players, however, had increased their training volume under Ronaldo's relentless pressure. Moreover, the younger players had a good relationship, even playing games during training, finding some joy in the hardship. "He's incredibly diligent," the team's assistant coach remarked, watching Ronaldo on the training field. "There are too many talented players, but few are as persistent as him. I even hope the media keeps saying he's not good enough. Because I'm afraid that once all the media praises him, he'll lose motivation." Trigueros shook his head beside him. "He's a good player. His professionalism will even become legendary in the future. But," Deng Kai said, "he'll never be a leader for the players." The assistant coach looked at Deng Kai, meaning, how could that be? Such an excellent player, of course he'd become a leader. Deng Kai chuckled. "Those who lead by example can at best become generals, but the top marshals are often not battlefield warriors." When Ronaldo devotes all his energy to training, he has no energy left to manage relationships with his teammates. He will earn everyone's respect, but it will be difficult for him to gain their friendship and support. The assistant coach frowned. "Why?" Deng Kai said, if you have a colleague who always voluntarily works overtime, would you like him? No, you might even hate him, even if you know he's doing 100% of his work. Human nature is lazy, but Ronaldo's presence forces some players to work harder. If people can't overcome laziness through their own self-motivation, then they will resent that external force. As children, they resent their parents and teachers who made them study, so they rebel. As adults, they resent the jobs and bosses that exploit them, so they give up. After raising children, they complain about the pressure their children bring to their lives, so they hope their children will succeed and not let them down. Self-disciplined people don't blame the world, they want to change it. Externally disciplined people complain about everything. Unfortunately, 99% of the people in this world are externally disciplined. So Ronaldo will only be hated, not liked. Trigura laughed and said, then why do I see you like Ronaldo quite a bit? Sometimes you almost become Ronaldo's external discipline. I remember you dragging him up to train several times, making him suffer a lot. Deng Kai looked at the young men on the green field and said, that's because I'm also a self-disciplined person. Assistant coach, but you're very popular. Deng Kai shrugged, because some people think self-discipline is purely a personal matter, like Ronaldo. But I think self-discipline also affects others, so I will control it a little. Assistant coach, to put it bluntly, it's a difference in emotional intelligence. Deng Kai, hey, I didn't say that. That evening, after returning to his residence, Ronaldo was still sullen. Deng Kai noticed that he had something on his mind and took the initiative to ask, is there anything you can't figure out? Why don't you consult a master? You think you're worthy? Ronaldo snorted coldly, I don't know how to master fancy dribbling and minimalist dribbling. Very well. As expected of Cristiano Ronaldo, the one-dimensional Ronaldo. Give him a choice, and he develops selective depression. Do you know the ancient Chinese martial arts manuals? The 18 subduing dragon palms, the 13 deadly swords, the 72 Shaolin arts. Deng Kai spoke in a profound and enigmatic tone. So, can they be used to play football? Ronaldo didn't like listening to Deng Kai's charade. Deng Kai, sure, but unnecessary. The point is, for beginners who can't yet fully grasp the concepts, fixed techniques are essential. With your level of intelligence, it's still a bit difficult for you to choose the right dribbling method based on the situation. So, I'll give you a formula, just apply it. When you find your opponent is relatively weak and their defense is poor, add a simple dribble after roughly every 3 fancy dribbles. When you find your opponent is relatively strong but their defense is weak, add a simple dribble after every 2 fancy dribbles. When your opponent is weak but their defense is strong, add a fancy dribble after every 2 simple dribbles. When your opponent is strong and their defense is also strong, add a fancy dribble after 3 simple dribbles. By fixing the proportions like this, you won't get confused, right? Don't tell me you can't handle this kindergarten-level number arrangement. Cristiano Ronaldo nodded in satisfaction, full of anticipation for the next match. Chapter 187 Me Too. For the next few days, his teammates wondered if Ronaldo was under too much pressure and had gone mad. During training, he would keep chanting 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, which was quite creepy. This was especially true for defenders like Seraphim, Alex, Gillip, and Font, who would be training against Ronaldo. That day, Alex couldn't hold back any longer and went to Deng Kai to ask, Kai, why does Ronaldo keep repeating numbers? Deng Kai, oh? How does he say it? Alex, he's saying 1113, 311 to Seraphim. Deng Kai, that means Seraphim's defense isn't good. Is Ronaldo constantly using fancy tricks to get past him? Alex was shocked. Holy crap. Kai, you know Ronaldo. You really do. What about Font and Gillip? Ronaldo keeps saying 3331, 1333. Deng Kai, their defense is quite good, giving Ronaldo a bit of a headache. Ronaldo can only use the simplest way, speed, to get past them. The occasional fancy tricks are just to confuse, not to break through. Alex was completely impressed. Then, what about me? Kai, when Ronaldo kicks me, he almost doesn't make a sound. Does that mean I'm different from everyone else? Deng Kai looked at Alex with an expression as if he were looking at an idiot and said, you really are different. Ronaldo thinks your defense is terrible. He doesn't need any special techniques to get past you, He can do it however he wants. Did he even use the rainbow flick on you? Alex was struck dumb. It seems, it's the rainbow flick on me. Oh my god, how could he do that? It's so disrespectful to me. Deng Kai comforted Alex. It's okay, don't be discouraged, I'm the same. Alex felt a little better. Kai, you are, after all, an attacking midfielder, so it's understandable that your defense is a little weak. But my position has a lot of defensive pressure. Deng Kai interrupted Alex. No, you misunderstood. What I meant was, if I needed to get past you, I would also consider using the rainbow flick on you. Your defense is truly comfortable. By the time Alex realized what was happening, Deng Kai had already run to the other side of the training field. February 15th, the 18th round of the Portuguese Second Division. Moreirense hosted Fairhamed. Emerson, still recovering from injury, was replaced by defensive midfielder Cordeiro, forming a double defensive midfield formation with Deng Kai as the lone attacking midfielder. The formation shifted from 4-3-3 to 4-2-1-3. From the start of the match, the commentators noticed Ronaldo's unusually relaxed expression. In the 7th minute, after receiving the ball, Ronaldo didn't rush to dribble past his opponent, but instead pulled the ball back and feinted, attempting to challenge the defense. His right foot swayed back and forth above the ball before finally choosing to pass it back. The right back of Fairhamed immediately looked displeased. We thought you were going to make a big run, and this is it? Just for show. In the 7th minute, Deng Kai passed a ball to Ronaldo again, having primarily operated on the left flank in the early stages. Ronaldo received the ball, accelerated, but finding he couldn't shake off his opponent, he immediately slowed down and started using stepovers, forcing the opponent back before passing it back again. Fairhamed isn't strong, but their defenders are. In the 14th minute, Deng Kai passed again. The commentators were practically sympathizing with Flavio on the right wing. The left flank was clearly ineffective, yet you kept focusing on attacking it, just because you have a better relationship with Ronaldo? That's not how a midfield maestro is. Bang! Ronaldo tossed a ball forward, dribbling past without any fancy moves. Fairhamed's right back, thinking Ronaldo was intimidated, was completely taken aback that Ronaldo dared to outmaneuver him. He's passed. Ronaldo accelerated past him. So fast. Ronaldo turned Deng Kai's unremarkable pass into an absolute opportunity. He crossed. Anderson's header, high. Too high, what a pity. But I must say, Ronaldo's attack was brilliant. Anderson also thought Ronaldo's pass was excellent, so he gave him a thumbs up. But when Anderson turned, he noticed Deng Kai's face was slightly dark. Did Deng Kai think he hadn't received a thumbs up? Considering Deng Kai's status in Trijera's eyes, Anderson gave Deng Kai another thumbs up. Deng Kai's face darkened even more. Anderson, why did you have to imitate Lukaku, the thumbs-up striker? Do you secretly dream of becoming a king of studs? That's a dangerous idea. In the 23rd minute, it's still the left wing, still Ronaldo. He's very active, eager for the ball. After receiving the ball, Ronaldo feints, causing the opponent to hastily block his position. Ronaldo then performs two fancy moves, before facing the on-rushing defender with an inside step and an outside flick, chipping the ball away. Ronaldo is then brought down on the spot. The opponent was clearly aiming for him. Whistle. The referee can't ignore such an obvious foul. Yellow card. And this is a set piece in the attacking third, a very good position, almost as threatening as a corner kick. Players rush into Fairhamed's penalty area, ready to contest a header. Deng Kai raises 5 fingers, and his teammates understand. Bang! Deng Kai kicks off. The ball is flat, but the speed is not slow. Looking for the near post. Cristiano Ronaldo was initially positioned in the center, but knowing Duncan was aiming for the near post, he sprinted forward early. Bang! Almost without jumping, Ronaldo headed the ball on. The ball nestled into the far post. Goal, 1-0. That header was technically brilliant. That flick on was incredibly skillful. This is the change Trigueros brought to Moreirense. This kind of set-piece tactic is a crucial way for weaker teams to score. It's never too much to study. But Moreirense's previous coach never made any special arrangements, always only offering the option of finding the high point in the middle. Even the best football becomes less formidable when you lack variation. And don't forget, this opportunity was created by Ronaldo himself. His performance today was very different from the last 2 games. He's become more confident and decisive. After this goal, Morirans struggled to combat their weak team syndrome, but the game still slightly favored Farim. In the 36th minute, Gillip made a crucial interception. Without him, the opponent would have broken through their defense. In the 39th minute, Font blocked an opponent's shot with his shoulder. Farim players protested vehemently, believing it was a handball and demanding a penalty and a yellow card. However, the referee, with keen insight, recognized the difference between the shoulder and arm in football. The shoulder is a valid point of attack and can touch the ball, so if the shoulder is offside, it's considered offside. The arm, on the other hand, cannot touch the ball and is considered an invalid point of attack. Therefore, if the arm is offside, it's not considered offside. Chapter 188. A good teacher makes Ronaldo progress quickly. Because Farim's attacking players were all besieging the referee did not stop the game. When the ball fell to Deng Kai's feet, he was almost unmarked and immediately launched an attack, dribbling forward. His running was far more technically sophisticated than Anderson's. Deng Kai's running, combined with Alex's rapid advance on the right flank, forced Farim's defense to disintegrate. Bang! Deng Kai delivered a surgical through ball to Ronaldo. This caught the Farim defenders off guard. Because, judging from their positions, there were fewer defenders on Alex's side, Deng Kai should have passed to Alex. However, Deng Kai deliberately went for Ronaldo. Why? Because Alex was positioned slightly deeper, and he couldn't directly threaten the goal when he had the ball. By the time he entered the threatening area, Farim's defense had stabilized, and a counter-attack was turned into a positional attack. Ronaldo's side is closer to the penalty area, making passes more difficult, but once the ball reaches him, he can immediately shoot, creating a clear attacking opportunity. Ronaldo cuts inside from the left flank, fiercely battling with the right back marking him. Ronaldo is clearly faster. Deng Kai's pass is a race to the finisher. Bang! Ronaldo bursts into the left side of the penalty area, skipping the usual touch and instead using a backheel flick to change direction. The Farim right back flies past Ronaldo. Ronaldo adjusts, takes a shot. Swish! The ball nestles into the near corner. Although the angle is narrow, the quality of the shot is exceptional. The Farim goalkeeper spreads his arms wide but can't reach the ball. Beautiful goal. Ronaldo scores his second goal, making up for the one he missed in the last game. That backheel flick was incredibly agile. How is this different from Ronaldo in his youth academy days? The media are saying Ronaldo is past his prime, that he's fallen from grace. But it seems he's adapted to the pace of the Portuguese second division in just 2 games. Unlike midfielders who can choose their playing time, forwards often have to go toe-to-toe with their opponents. So adapting is much harder for them than for midfielders. Farim's right back is clearly unable to stop Ronaldo, they need to double-team him. Even the commentators saw it clearly, but Farim's coach didn't. Or perhaps he planned to make adjustments at halftime. Then, in the 42nd minute, Deng Kai made a strong run and intercepted the ball in midfield, then backheeled it to Ronaldo. Ronaldo was on fire, this time backing down his opponent and flicking the ball through his legs. Ronaldo turned and charged towards the ball. The opposing right back kept pulling and pulling, but couldn't stop him. Ronaldo dribbled past his opponent, cut inside, and prepared to shoot. Bang! Farim's right back, with mixed emotions, tackled Ronaldo from behind. Morirans was furious. Trigura almost rushed onto the pitch, yelling at the crowd. The Morirans fans who had come to watch the game because of their team's hard-won winning streak were also enraged, hurling insults. On the field, the referee arrived at the scene immediately and decisively showed a red card. He was sent off. Farim's players pleaded for their teammate, but the die was cast. The result couldn't be changed. Ronaldo then took the free kick himself, which was in a fairly good position. The ball, unsurprisingly, went well over the goal. If it weren't for your really outstanding performance today, I wouldn't have let you mess up that free kick, Deng Kai criticized Ronaldo. Ronaldo didn't even realize that free kicks, which were his forte at Sporting Lisbon, had become Kenneth D'Angelo's domain at Morirans. The match then went into halftime. Trigura emphasized a second-half strategy, pushing Alex forward to put more pressure on the opposition. Normally, it's one thing if they don't capitalize on their goals, but today they had a numerical advantage. If they couldn't build momentum, the team was truly hopeless. Fortunately, from the start of the second half until around the 60th minute, Morirans attacked with great ease, practically ganging up on the opposition. Although they didn't score, They created numerous opportunities, and the play wasn't solely reliant on D'Angelo's creativity. In the 64th minute, D'Angelo passed to Flavio, who then passed to the on-rushing Alex. Alex, unmarked, easily crossed a ball. Ferrand, surrounded in the box, headed it away. Macedo received the ball outside the box and passed it to D'Angelo. D'Angelo, without controlling the ball, chipped it forward for a quick tap-in. Alex had already broken into the penalty area on the right, controlled the ball successfully on the byline, and swept it across the face of goal. Anderson, tall and strong, used his powerful physical strength to tap the ball into the net. 3-0. Barring any surprises, Moreirense is poised for a resounding victory. This win is completely different from the previous two matches. If the previous victories were lucky, this one is a testament to true strength. This team has quickly absorbed some excellent elements and is becoming a cohesive unit. In the 69th minute, Moreirense's left back, Seraphim, received a yellow card and was subsequently substituted by veteran captain Altino under trigger. Because Alex was pushing forward, Seraphim had to stay back more. However, as a full-back, his defensive abilities weren't particularly strong. Seraphim was arguably the worst performer for Moreirense on the field. Although Altino is older, he can still be used effectively in this position as a center-back on the wing. Of course, Seraphim's current poor performance doesn't mean he'll be bad in the future. As the team matures and the central defenders and defensive midfielders become more coordinated, the team can then attack from both flanks. With the support of a left back, Ronaldo is truly complete on the left wing. The Ronaldo who is currently overpowering Ferrand de Gaulle is just an early version. In fact, Trigueira's tactical arrangements and development, which are several steps ahead of reality, can save a team a lot of trouble. If a player isn't working well now, sell him. When you want to upgrade after the tactics are more established, you'll find you sold him at a loss, and you'll have to spend more money to buy a similar player, but then compatibility with the team becomes an issue. What's the point? This is why some players suddenly become effective over time. Excluding the possibility of a player suddenly improving, it can only mean that the coach, after the team's existing tactics have matured, has redefined the player's on-field role, adapting it to his strengths. It's not that he inexplicably becomes effective. Clubs that cling to underperforming players without proper coaching and organization are likely to experience dressing room problems, making it difficult to replace them with any new manager. The U.S. team had a chance to score first against the Netherlands, creating more clear-cut opportunities in the first 30 minutes. However, their players lacked the courage to finish, focusing instead on creating better chances. Many times, they had 30–40% chances of scoring, but no one dared to shoot. Therefore, in major tournaments, players really need to be more aggressive. Tactical requirements are one thing, but they also need to be willing to take responsibility. The first match today was a foregone conclusion. France's wingers were outrageously strong, while Poland essentially abandoned wing defense. Mbappe and Dembele's crosses, sweeping crosses, and cutbacks nearly overwhelmed Poland. If Senegal had Maine, England would have easily lost. Even without Maine, the match was still close. England's only hope lies in individual flashes of brilliance, but unfortunately, that wasn't the case in this game. Senegal wins. Chapter 189. Deng Kai's plans backfire. So when Seraphim left the field, Trigueira patted him on the shoulder in a friendly gesture of encouragement, without criticizing him. In the 79th minute, Deng Kai played a through ball to Flavio. Flavio wasn't under much defensive pressure and took a shot. But the goalkeeper was in good form and saved the ball. Anderson jumped to head the ball, but because it bounced so high, a direct shot would likely go over the crossbar or be weak. Over here, a voice came from behind Anderson. Anderson simply flicked the ball on with his head, clearing it. Then he turned around. Deng Kai, at the edge of the penalty area, unleashed a powerful volley. Swish. It wasn't a spectacular goal, but it was enough. Anderson had blocked the goalkeeper's view. With a ball on target, it was a sure goal. 4-0. Moreirense is on fire today. Deng Kai has scored in 3 consecutive games. And he's a midfielder. He's already got 1 goal and 2 assists in this match. This is largely due to his carrying the team in the first half of the season. Without Ronaldo's interference, Deng Kai has fully developed his attacking talent. That volley was incredibly technical. Ronaldo, interference? So it wasn't me, the striker, who helped this mediocre midfielder take off, but I'm the one who hindered him? Let him leave me and see. Deng Kai, leaving him, I'm number 1 in both goals and assists. But that's not all. As the saying goes, one should press on with the remaining strength, not seek fame like Xiongyu. Morirance's attacking desire was completely unleashed today. In the 83rd minute, Deng Kai and Alex combined on the right wing, drawing the defenders. Bang! Deng Kai launched a long ball to the left wing. Ronaldo received the ball, pulled back and cut inside, and accelerated past his opponent. Then, when challenging the opposing center-back, he played the role of a bicycle kicker, frantically pedaling the ball before finally dribbling past him, causing the opposing center-back to slip and fall. Bang! Ronaldo seized the opportunity and fired a shot. The ball pierced the opponent's net for the 5th time. Goal. 5-0. Hat-trick. Ronaldo has set another new record. Previously, Ronaldo set the record for the youngest player to score in the Portuguese second division. But it was quickly broken by his teammate, Deng Kai. However, this time, Ronaldo's record for the youngest player to score a hat-trick in the Portuguese second division is not so easy to break. Let's congratulate Ronaldo, his performance today was perfect. Of course, because of Ronaldo's goal, Deng Kai also achieved a record that is equally difficult to break, the youngest player to score a hat-trick in the Portuguese second division. He had 1 goal and 3 assists today, even more dazzling than Ronaldo. Everyone thought this might be the highlight of the match. But after the match entered stoppage time, today's headlines were truly born. Perhaps drawn in by Ronaldo's stylish stepovers, Deng Kai finally tried his own accelerated stepover just outside Ferrim's penalty area. Because the depth effect of this skill was so overpowered, Deng Kai never dared to attempt it when the game was close. Today, with a rare big lead, well, let's just play around. Immediately afterward, Deng Kai's foot landed on the ball, and he fell in front of the opponent's penalty area. The entire stadium fell silent. Ferrim's center-back didn't even clear the ball immediately after it rolled in. Such a mistake was extremely rare, especially from a midfield maestro. Can you believe De Bruyne's step-over would backfire? Can you imagine Modric's embarrassing fall after a step-over? If it weren't for the scoreboard clearly showing Deng Kai had 1 goal and 3 assists today, the Moreirense fans, watching Deng Kai play at home for the first time, would have thought the team had loaned a flop. Ha ha ha. Ronaldo laughed wildly beside him. The rest of his teammates couldn't hold back either. They even gave up on defense because their stomachs hurt from laughing. The anger of Ferrim, who was brutally beaten throughout the match, dissipated under Deng Kai's dunk of the century. Moreirense celebrates 3 consecutive victories. 1 more win and they'll be out of the relegation zone. Godly coach Tragura, godly striker Ronaldo, godly midfielder Deng Kai. Wait, what's with the quotes? Differential treatment? One match saw the birth of the youngest hat-trick and assist hat-trick in the Portuguese second division. Sporting Lisbon's talent pool is booming, enviable. Simeo just left, Quaresma has already risen, Viana has recovered from injury and entered the first-team squad, and even younger youth players on loan in the Portuguese second division are putting on a great show. The top 10 goals of this round in the Portuguese second division, Ronaldo accounts for 2, Deng Kai appears 4 times. Heart disease is Ronaldo's last shackle. The recovered Ronaldo has become the golden left winger in the Portuguese second division. 3 games, 3 goals and 5 assists, involved in 8 goals. Why did he cause the whole audience to burst into laughter? Flop or genius? Deng Kai's bicycle accident was shocking. Could he really be a stat padder? The news, along with headlines like shocking Hathaway's boyfriend's mishap. Will Hathaway continue pursuing Deng Kai? Quickly went viral throughout Portugal and even reached North America. The Portuguese second division doesn't even have a youth league worth paying attention to. But Deng Kai deserves it. And Deng Kai's mishap is even more noteworthy. Portuguese football legend Eusebio commented, "It's difficult to make a mistake with a step over in a non-contact situation, but Deng Kai's performance wasn't because he's bad, it's because he modified his step over technique to be faster, which led to this error. I suggest he solidify his fundamentals before considering these kinds of mistakes. He's a smart player, and I believe he won't make the same mistake twice." Barcelona star Figo also saw the video of Deng Kai's mishap. Perhaps it's because we played for 90 minutes, and everyone sweated a lot, wetting the grass. The ball became slippery on the grass due to the sweat, or maybe the grass wasn't level enough, and there was a pothole that wasn't visible to the naked eye. Okay, I can't make this up anymore. Kai, You have excellent vision and passing ability, but you really need to work on your fundamentals more. Aside from criticizing Deng Kai during national team matches, Guardiola otherwise lauded him. Deng Kai's passing is angelic, and crucially, he has the brain to execute it. But Deng Kai's dribbling is devilish. Thankfully, he only uses those lightning-struck step hovers when the team is leading by a large margin. This year's Ballon d'Or and FIFA World Player of the Year winner, Rivaldo, also commented, Deng Kai's talent is undeniable, but his technique is indeed weak, which will limit his future development. At the very least, there's no player on Barcelona's pitch who can't juggle the ball. If there were, they'd be expelled from Barca. This statement caused a 9-year-old youth academy player named Braithwaite, a 3-year-old toddler named Dembele, and a boy named Dis to simultaneously sneeze. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 190 Oscar nomination, The Lost Pathway? In addition, within the Avengers, the victims of Deng Kai are having a discussion. Robin, I told you, he can't dribble at all. Van Persie, he could do that step over with his eyes closed. Did he learn bad habits from that stiff Ronaldo? Van der Vaart, I can't believe I lost to such a rough player, twice. Iniesta, but his croquet is clearly better than mine. Torres, yeah, I saw him use the Marseille's turn the other day. Sek, I really hope he can keep doing step overs like that when he shoots at me. Sneijder, I thought he was just like me, not liking fancy techniques, but I didn't expect, he just can't do it. Lom, if a player like this can beat the German Youth Academy, the German team is hopeless. And last year's Ballon d'Or winner Zidane subtly laughed and said, I haven't watched that video too many times. I think every player has these embarrassing moments. We shouldn't laugh at him, it might dampen his imagination on the field, ha ha ha. But even if he succeeds in doing the step over, the move will look terrible. I personally don't recommend fans learn it. Ronaldo, who had a slight grudge against Deng Kai, was very direct. Seriously, Deng Kai, if you predict that Inter Milan will win the Champions League this year, I can teach you some dribbling skills. How about a pendulum fall, or rather, a pendulum dribble? Although you'll definitely end up with a pendulum fall when you use it. Ha ha ha. Deng Kai suddenly became synonymous with players with rough technique, stealing the label from future German superstar Muller. Compared to football media and North American media, the news had to be read in the Sun. Deng Kai has previously performed bicycle kicks with elegance and grace, but this accident should be due to leg weakness. However, his stamina has always been good, and he even had a brilliant performance in extra time. So what caused Deng Kai, who was originally in good physical condition, to become increasingly thin? Therefore, we have good reason to suspect that Deng Kai and Hathaway have already tasted the forbidden fruit. But they have not yet reached the legal age of cohabitation. Once the evidence is conclusive, they may be placed under the supervision and education of juvenile delinquents for up to a week. Ronaldo was practically going crazy when he saw this news. No. Kale became a man before me, Cristiano Ronaldo. That's impossible. But Ronaldo didn't dare ask Kale about it himself. After all, what if Kale agreed? Would Ronaldo be forever defeated? Normally, only someone like Ronaldo would take such unreliable gossip from the Sun seriously. But their timing was just too perfect. It's impossible for them not to become famous. The day after the Sun questioned Kale and Hathaway's alleged premarital sex, the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences announced the nominations for this year's Oscars. The Princess Diaries, released at the end of last year, achieved remarkable success. Its North American box office totaled $209 million, ranking fifth in the 1999 North American box office charts. Behind it were well-known films such as The Matrix, The Mummy, and The Blair Witch Project, many featuring star-studded casts. With such impressive results, The Princess Diaries received an Oscar nomination for Best Picture. Gary Marshall also received another Oscar nomination for Best Director for this film. Julie Andrews, the Oscar-winning actress who plays the Queen in the film, is nominated for an Oscar for Best Supporting Actress. Anne Hathaway, in her first film role, has become a North American campus goddess and received an Oscar nomination for Best Actress for her outstanding performance. Everyone knows Hollywood can create stars, and this year, Hathaway is that lucky one. News about Hathaway is guaranteed to get tons of clicks. Even the number of likes on character cards is surpassing Deng Kai's. How could the news in the Sun not be trending at this point? Hathaway's agent is frantic, trying every possible way to deny the rumors. This kind of negative news has a significant impact on Hathaway's award prospects. Fortunately, Deng Kai was the first to clarify, mistakes on the football field are normal, and this has nothing to do with my physical condition. The Sun's conclusion is somewhat presumptuous. I hope everyone remembers that this is just an entertainment publication, and authenticity is something they severely lack. Hathaway and I are good friends, and we've both been busy with our own careers lately. We haven't seen each other for several months, so the actual circumstances don't match what the Sun fabricated. Deng Kai's clarification was convincing. His statement made things easier for Hathaway to discuss. Hathaway later openly stated to the media, "Thank you for your high praise, especially the Sun, but unfortunately, my relationship with Kay hasn't progressed to that stage yet. If he really becomes my boyfriend, then within the bounds of the law, I will consider his health as much as possible. After all, he's a professional athlete, and his health is the foundation of his career. And a good partner wouldn't ruin the partner's career or health. Regarding the development of my relationship with Kay, I suggest everyone focus on our social media accounts first. Because if there's any breakthrough, I'll want to tell the world more than anyone else, not through the Sun." Hathaway's statement was very bold. Her agent had her deny the rumors so she could distance herself from Kay and fully focus on campaigning for the Oscars. Who knew that Hathaway did deny the rumors, but it would have been better if she hadn't. Listen to the outrageous things she said in the interview. Did you really need to be so proactive? A woman expressing her feelings like that anywhere will attract criticism and be seen as a bad girl. Her agent could already foresee the termination agreements for several previously signed advertising contracts. And indeed, that was the case. Almost all of Hathaway's advertising deals vanished overnight. Her career peaked after her Oscar nomination, then plummeted in an instant. Investors widely believe that Hathaway's actions had completely ruined her screen image. After all, she was a campus goddess. Youthful, cute, innocent, kind, beautiful, and reserved. She should have portrayed these qualities, not a reckless pursuit of love. Leading North American media outlets criticized Hathaway. Headlines included, "The Lost Hathaway. Early fame always makes people lose their mind. Hathaway disrespects fans and the rules of being a star, so she's destined to be abandoned by the industry. No one will pay for Hathaway like this, at least I won't," and Hathaway suffers consecutive contract terminations from advertisers, commercial value approaching zero. Chapter 191. This punch is the culmination of 20 years of skill. Although Hollywood movies must have romance, it's ridiculous for an actress to believe in love. Various media outlets voiced their opinions, putting Hathaway under immense pressure. Deng Kai immediately spoke with Hathaway by phone and was relieved to learn that her emotions were relatively stable. The following day, Deng Kai expressed his views on the North American media's criticism of Hathaway in the Record newspaper. "I think Americans today are lost. Although I was born in China and grew up in Europe, I dare say this. Hollywood, the NBA, even Wall Street or that White Palace, too many people are lost in the glitz and glamour, ignoring their true feelings." Hathaway's courageous expression, in my opinion, is an awakening for those who are lost. Can't women boldly express their feelings? Can't women be the ones actively pursuing others? Don't girls have the right to control their own happiness? We are no longer in the primitive era of brute force. Productivity is no longer about male strength, but about the wisdom of gender equality. Why do Americans still hold such a strong prejudice on this issue? Why are the media attacking Hathaway? Because they are afraid. Everyone can check how many female bosses and executives are in these media outlets. Look at that shocking proportion. Sisters, you should stand up. Are they attacking Hathaway? No, they are attacking all women in North America. It doesn't matter if one Hathaway falls. Hathaway and I firmly believe that thousands upon thousands of Hathaways will rise again. This article deeply shocked Zhang Yunzhu. What appeared to be ordinary text was actually quite profound. Zhang Yunzhu read it carefully for half the night before finally discerning the underlying message. The entire document was filled with the two words women's completeness. This was a punch imbued with 20 years of experience, the culmination of 20 years of wisdom from countless users on Weibo, Zaya Ahonshu, and other platforms. Could the Americans withstand it? The answer was no. Deng Kai's interview circulated rapidly in North America, Not because he had any special connections, but because a large group of people there had been waiting for such an opportunity. The more developed a region's productivity, the more intense the women's calls for equality become, because in more developed regions, productivity is less about physical labor and more about mental labor, and mental labor transcends gender. Having undergone the rigorous training of the Groom's Weibo, a popular Chinese online forum for women's empowerment, in the later stages of the marriage process, what kind of punch hadn't Deng Kai seen? This overwhelming move wasn't intended to kill, but to strike at the heart. Have you guys seen Deng Kai's interview? I think he's so right. I feel like he's right next to me, seeing my life reflected in his words. It's just like he said, I always feel this world is a bit unfair. Yet, why is it that when a man boldly pursues a woman, everyone says he's sincere, but women can't do the same? Why does the person giving the meeting have to be a man? At first, seeing everyone criticizing Hathaway, I thought I was the only one who envied her behavior. Me too. How can Hathaway be so cool? I always thought her personality was like the timid character in the movie. Well, you might not have watched the movie carefully. Hathaway later becomes exactly like she is now, so brave, so decisive. That's what attracts me most. Yes. It seems the movie character Maya is Hathaway herself. No wonder her acting in this movie is so superb. Is this what they call playing herself? Hathaway is so cool. This is the style that contemporary North American women should have. I love Hathaway's bold and passionate nature. In North America, public opinion has reversed. The criticism of Hathaway came from major traditional media outlets, whose starting point was the significant decline in her commercial value. Since we know you're going to fail, wouldn't it be wise of us to take the opportunity to criticize you? They reasoned. They had no personal animosity towards Hathaway, they were simply judging her fate based on past experiences. But these media outlets ignored the fact that society is constantly progressing. In fact, this wave of youth empowerment was ignited 4 years later by the release of Mean Girls. Its lead actress, Lindsay Lohan, became an overnight sensation, a famous Disney princess. Rather than saying the movie was a hit, it's more accurate to say that it reflected deeply ingrained social phenomena, sparking a new era of self-awareness among young women. This was ideological guidance, an influence that extended beyond the film's scope. That's why Lindsay Lohan was incredibly popular at the time. But this doesn't mean this wave could only be triggered 4 years later. Given America's level of development, the material foundation was already sufficient, all that was lacking was a catalyst. Now, that catalyst has arrived ahead of schedule. Hathaway has become the representative figure of this wave. Anyone with a modicum of sense knows that her commercial value hasn't decreased. In fact, it's many times higher than when she was first nominated. Director Marshall, who has weathered many storms and has close ties to higher authorities, contacted Hathaway, urging her to maintain her image as a woman who dares to love and hate, and freely pursues love. According to his inside information, Hathaway, who initially appeared at the Oscars simply to fill a spot for Best Actress, now genuinely has a chance to win. This event has a huge impact. The Oscars are just the beginning. Similar statements and events will follow in multiple industries and fields. This is a massive, coordinated effort aimed at ultimately improving the social status of women in the United States, that is, enabling some women to enter the mainstream and obtain more important positions. Therefore, Hathaway's first move will definitely be a resounding success. To be honest, Hathaway was completely bewildered after hearing this news. Oscars aren't just about acting well. Later, everyone realized that you need to compete and lobby, requiring a lot of money, resources, and even other things. Hathaway couldn't afford to compete, and she didn't have any major financial backers. She had never imagined she had a chance of winning an award. But now, a powerful backer and resources were coming to support her, and unconditionally. Hathaway chose to discuss this with Deng Kai. In her panic, she could only trust Deng Kai. It was his maturity beyond his years that gave her that, and it was a major reason why Hathaway couldn't help but fall for him. A sense of security. This sense of security, after Hathaway became famous, was something her parents could no longer provide. Because of the many troubles her middle-class family couldn't solve. Chapter 192 Returning to my mother's home. This is a good thing, Deng Kai reassured a somewhat frightened Hathaway on the phone. You don't need to do anything special during this process, and of course, don't be foolish enough to just shout the slogans the media has come up with for you. Until a heavyweight figure on the other side contacts you, you don't need to express your stance or opinion on this. When someone asks, just talk about our feelings, your thoughts about me, etc. When you become an important spiritual symbol, you need to know how to play the market, to say what people want to hear at the most appropriate time. And Oscar is clearly not the time. Hathaway was a little confused. Then when is it? Deng Kai, when you've established your own large enterprise, which is actually a bit unwise. When you're preparing to enter politics and have a pretty good starting point. Or when such a person needs you most in an election. Before you speak out, you will never, ever be abandoned by Hollywood. Even if you are abandoned, you can always come back if you want. That night, Hathaway didn't fully understand what Deng Kai was saying. But she understood some of it. That is, she started a boxing match, but she wouldn't fight herself unless it was for the final championship bout. She didn't need to feel guilty about the help the other party gave her in her Oscar race. Compared to her real contribution, this favor was insignificant. The enormous benefits brought by this wave far exceeded those of decades of struggle against the Black Lives Matter movement. But in reality, they won after a very short struggle. February 18th. Benfica player Messi gave an interview. The background to the interview was that as the season progressed, everyone realized that Benfica's opponent in the Portuguese Cup quarter-finals was Moreirense. This result was decided in the first half of the season. But at that time, no one paid attention to Moreirense. And now, who wouldn't pay attention to Moreirense? Especially since Moreirense had previously hoped to sign Messi. Messi, I don't care what kind of sports leader, campus goddess, or Oscar nominee Deng Kai's girlfriend is in North America. I'm a football player. I just want to use this game to show Deng Kai and Trigura whether Marquinhos, on the right wing, is really nothing as Deng Kai says. Messi is still bothered by Deng Kai's comments. Similarly, Moreirense's players also gave interviews. Veteran captain Altino said, Benfica is a very strong team, they are contenders for the Portuguese league title. We, on the other hand, have just escaped the relegation zone in the Portuguese second division. We just want to play a game we can be proud of. Altino's sense of vulnerability was evident, even though he had used what he considered the strongest tone. This also reflects the sentiments of the normal players and fans at Moreirense. Any Portuguese second division team's win rate against a Portuguese league team is less than 10%. And if that Portuguese league team is Porto, Benfica, Sporting Lisbon, or Boavista, the win rate will be even lower. However, in the same interview, Ronaldo stated, no matter what team they are, even if they are in Serie A team, we will win in the end. I only have one goal in playing football, and that is to score goals and win the game. Reporter, so, that's 2 goals, right? Ronaldo, for me, it's the same. Deng Kai then added to Ronaldo's statement, expressing their confidence and explaining why they might win. Nuno Gomes has a minor injury and isn't in the squad. João Pinto is an excellent striker, but as he gets older, he's no longer a striker who can single-handedly defeat opponents. He needs partners, but he didn't have any in this game. Messi will become an excellent defensive midfielder in the future, but as for the right winger position, I can only say I have a confidence in our left back. Also, Benfica has league pressure and will use a semi-reserve lineup in this game, which is our best opportunity. Reporter, don't you have league pressure? Deng Kai, if you've followed our recent games, you'll know that if our goal is to avoid relegation, then we certainly don't have league pressure. The reporter didn't grasp Deng Kai's implied meaning. Their goal wasn't relegation, thus missing a headline. But today's content is enough. February 19th, Estádio da Luz, Lisbon. The Portuguese Cup quarter-final kicks off. More than 40,000 fans came to watch the match today. Because this is the joyous day of Duncan and Ronaldo's return to Lisbon. Benfica will give half of today's ticket revenue to Moreirense, which will be Moreirense's biggest income this year. This is also why Moreirense fought so hard in the first half of the season, sacrificing the league to focus on the Portuguese Cup. Teams that want to win the title hope to face weaker opponents. But teams like Moreirense, which are looking to make a quick buck, should be too fond of Benfica. Many weak teams in the Champions League also hope to be drawn into the group of death, be humiliated by the big clubs, take the money, and go back to their domestic league to dominate, only to make another fortune next year. Don't be nervous when you enter the stadium later, just pretend the fans around you don't exist, okay? Coutinho, as the veteran captain, was reassuring the other players. Benfica's home stadium, 40,000 fans. The atmosphere was far more intense than that of Moreirense, where only a few thousand fans surrounded them. Many players would become overly nervous in such a setting, even struggling to juggle the ball properly and performing terribly. Right, Demble? Today, the Benfica players were wearing their home kits, red. Moreirense's kit was very similar to Sporting Lisbon's, both green and white. The difference was that Sporting Lisbon's kit was green and white stripes, while Moreirense's was green and white checks, like a green version of Croatia. However, upon entering the stadium, Altino was immediately disoriented. He thought he must be seeing things. Oh, damn it. Am I suffering from red-green color blindness? Altino stared at the clearly defined, evenly matched red and green fans, speechless with excitement. Even Moreirense's top-ranked youth academy graduate, Gilip, was a bit excited. This has nothing to do with whether you're colorblind or not. Half of Benfica's fans are ours, the other half? Moreirense has that many fans? But as the players entered the pitch, the fans in green jerseys, under the team leader's direction, chanted their supporters' names. The successor to Simeone Quaresma, Cristiano Ronaldo. Sporting Lisbon's football Kaiser. Deng Kai. The match between Japan and Croatia is really hard to predict. Japan has a high probability of winning. To this, Peach can only cast a spell. May Modric's Croatia defeat Japan. Let them know that their grandpa is still their grandpa after all. The match between Brazil and South Korea is completely without suspense. Brazil will definitely win. The only suspense is, how many Brazilian players will the South Korean dirty players injure? Brazil is at a huge loss this time. Chapter 193 The Death of Font. The names of the two youngest players on the team echoed throughout the Estadio da Luz. At the same time, Benfica fans in their red jerseys booed loudly, especially when they chanted Deng Kai's name. The Moreirense players all looked at Deng Kai and Ronaldo. Was this the status of these two rising stars at Sporting Lisbon? They were just youth academy players. They had only been on loan for a little over 2 months, and upon their first return to Sporting Lisbon, so many fans had flocked to their arch-rival stadium to cheer for Deng Kai and Ronaldo. What level of influence was this? Even Simeone Quaresma didn't have this kind of explosive popularity during their youth academy days. The Moreirense players were worried that Ronaldo and Deng Kai might become overly nervous due to the large number of supporters. But the next moment, Deng Kai stretched out his arms in the queue, walking and spinning, his eyes scanning the surrounding stands, shouting, "Kaiser," and then clapping twice. Kaiser. Clap clap. Kaiser. Clap clap. The stadium resounded with synchronized applause and a chant of Kaiser. This was Deng Kai's unique entrance ceremony for the U17 team in the first half of the season, which many Sporting Lisbon fans know. Everyone loves these kinds of things Deng Kai does. A hint of disdain flashed in Ronaldo's eyes. Doing all this nonsense while I'm away. I'll definitely steal your entrance ceremony next time. No, I'll clap one more time than you. When Deng Kai turned around, he saw Ronaldo's eyes and immediately understood Ronaldo's thoughts. Silly kid, you'll fail. Because clapping 3 times won't pass censorship in a novel. Of course, there was one player in Moreirense whose mood was even worse than Ronaldo's, and that was Font, also from Sporting Lisbon. He was 2 levels above Ronaldo and Deng Kai. But no fans were chanting his name. This was really heartbreaking. Font. I support you. You have to keep it up. A fan spotted Font. Everyone, including the Benfica players, looked at Font, their eyes saying, "Holy crap, there's another one from Sporting Lisbon." Font's face turned bright red, completely speechless. He suddenly realized that it was actually better that no one had called him at all. For someone with social anxiety, being forgotten isn't scary. Being forgotten by everyone and then remembered and re-examined is true despair. That fan, thank you and your whole family. With the sound of the whistle, the match officially began. Moreirense's formation today was 4-3-3, equals Ronaldo, Anderson, Flavio, Emerson, Macedo, Duncan, Altino, Font, Gilip, Alex, Ricardo equals the changes today were Emerson's return and Altino starting at left back. This was a targeted measure suggested by Duncan, because Altino was directly marking the opposing right winger, Manish. Benfica's formation was also 4-3-3. Portugal has been focusing on developing wingers in recent years, and 4-3-3 is best suited for wingers equals Abdelkader Sabri, João Pinto, Manish, Sergei Kandilov, Andrade, José Calado, Jorge Ribeiro, Feliciano Garcia, Giaro, Samuel Acunavo, Nuno Santos equals Sabri was Benfica's most expensive signing this year, with a transfer fee of €2.5 million. Benfica has previously focused on developing players along the central axis, such as Rui Costa, and now their rising star, Nuno Gomes, is a centre-forward. They have also sold excellent midfielders and centre-backs. Their strategy differs from the current mainstream Portuguese approach of developing wingers. However, they are clearly also eyeing the lucrative market of winger stars, so they recalled Manish and brought in wingers like Sabri. However, neither of these players has performed ideally in the first team, only serving as substitutes. In addition, the team's left and right backs are also quite good. Left back Jorge Ribeiro was a teammate of Deng Kai and Cristiano Ronaldo in Portugal's youth national team, and they won the UEFA U16 championship together last summer. Ribeiro is one of the older players in that group. Right back Acunavo is a player Benfica brought back from Barcelona, and he has excellent footwork. Good wingers inevitably need good fullbacks to support them, which once again confirms Benfica's desire to cultivate winger superstars. However, like the two wingers, these two fullbacks are also considered substitutes in Benfica's squad. This also shows that their strategy of cultivating winger superstars is not going smoothly. Under these circumstances, Sporting Lisbon has produced top-class wingers such as Quaresma, Viana, and Cristiano Ronaldo. Benfica must be extremely envious. Although both wingers are substitutes, the team's central axis is mostly composed of Benfica's starters. Centre-forward João Pinto is a member of Portugal's golden generation. Although his fame is far less than that of Figo, Rui Costa, and Paulita, João Pinto has one unique achievement. He is the only player in the world to have won the World Youth Championship twice, a feat unmatched before or since. At the start of the match, both teams were very proactive, hoping to control possession. However, as time went on, it was inevitable that one side would lose possession. Even if both teams were possession-based, one would inevitably lose control. Similarly, even if both teams were counter-attacking teams that didn't want possession, one would still manage to control the ball. Besides tactical influences, this also relates to player ability. The so-called advantage on the field often stems from individual player skill. If your player passes faster, receives the ball more steadily, needs less time to adjust, has a greater advantage in collisions, and provides timely support, after a few such instances, the opposing player will know whether they can outmaneuver their opponent. If they can't, the next time the opponent receives the ball, they won't blindly rush forward to challenge, but will prioritize defense. This is a fundamental rule of football: take possession of the ball, limit your passing and dribbling, prevent you from shooting, or shut down your attackers receiving crosses. The stronger the ability, the earlier the choice; the weaker the ability, the later the choice. When several players in a match are unable to outmaneuver their opponents, the overall situation on the field completely changes. Therefore, if we divide the outcome of a match into a war composed of multiple battles, whoever controls the ball better wins the first battle. Today, Benfica undoubtedly dominated. Their players' individual abilities were comprehensively superior to Moreirense's. In the 15th minute, Benfica's left winger, Sabri, used his excellent speed to break down the flank, beating the defensive black hole Alex and delivering a cross. The cross was aimed at the near post, as Benfica rarely uses high balls due to their lack of a tall striker. Pinto's attacking positioning was excellent. He directly intercepted the ball at the near post and swept it in for a goal 1-0. Chapter 194. The veteran takes the lead. 29-year-old Pinto told Moreirense with a goal that he was still the boss. His skills were still sharp. But winning one battle doesn't necessarily determine the entire war. Although Moreirense lost in possession, they had strengths. If a strength can overwhelm the opponent in a localized area, it can create excellent opportunities and win the second battle. Moreirense's strength was undoubtedly the Madeira supercar on the left wing, Cristiano Ronaldo. In the 19th minute, Ronaldo, who had already probed twice, received the ball this time without hesitation, executing a powerful nutmeg past Barcelona defender Acunavo. Ronaldo then used his body to block Acunavo, completing the overtake and cut inside. Ronaldo hadn't done strength training yet, so his core wasn't strong. But coincidentally, Barcelona players, especially the younger ones, often lack core strength. In terms of strength, speed, and even skill, Ronaldo completely outclassed Acunavo. Ronaldo shoots. Santos makes a perfect save. Moreirense gets a corner. Ronaldo's face was full of smiles, and he even paid special attention to Manish. This was obviously a provocation. As a fellow striker, Manish's dribbling and speed were simply too clumsy in Ronaldo's eyes. Manish was annoyed, thinking, "Look at me, look again and I'll tackle you until you're done for." Bang! Deng Kai took the corner. Although Benfica's forwards lacked height, their defense was quite tall. They won the first ball and headed it out of the penalty area. Pinto controlled the second ball and immediately passed it to Sabri. Sabri took off, his black supercar incredibly fast. This was a very threatening counter-attack. Kilip, who was staying behind, kept retreating, but Sabri was still closing in. He could only feint back and then suddenly rush into tackle. Kilip's speed was considered fast for a center-back, and this feint actually fooled Sabri. Sabri took a heavy touch, and the ball was poked away by Kilip, causing both players to fall to the ground again. However, the crisis wasn't over. Pinto followed up from behind, passing the uncontrolled ball to the right. Manish received the ball on the right wing, adjusted slightly towards the center, and unleashed a long-range shot. Altino, who was defending him, was too slow to recover and missed his mark. Whoosh! A world-class strike. Moreirense's goal suffered 2 blows in a short period. 2-0. Benfica were far ahead. "Hey! This is the right winger you guys call nothing." Manish immediately found Altino after scoring and began mocking him. Altino was unlucky enough to be the closest to him. "Say that again, you son of a bitch." Altino rushed over and bumped Manish with his chest. The two men, red-faced, wrestled. The referee immediately came over and warned them both. "He deliberately provoked me after scoring. It's incredibly disrespectful to the field," Altino complained first. "What? Try scoring a goal if you dare," Manish said smugly. That was his nature, irritable and arrogant. The referee then warned Manish to watch his behavior, essentially giving both sides a stern warning. On Moreirense's bench, substitute center-back Orlando looked puzzled. The captain wasn't usually this irritable, was he? Why does he seem to have a grudge against that Manish today? If there's any grudge, it should be between Kai and Manish, right? Substitute goalkeeper Sergio Gomez, who often trained with Deng Kai and the others and knew them better, explained. "It seems like it was intentional. I heard Manish has a bad temper, so the boss sent the captain over to use some old tricks to provoke him and get him off the field." Substitute defensive midfielder Cordero thought it was absurd, impossible, right? "Those little dirty tricks don't work very well. At most, it'll just make Manish and the captain argue and shove each other. I believe a yellow card, but getting him off the field is impossible, right? Even the dumbest person calms down after a yellow card. Provoking him won't do any good." Gomez said, "That's why you're ranked first among the team's midfield substitutes. You're calm enough. That Manish, I heard, is exceptionally irritable." On the field, after conceding 2 goals, Deng Kai and Emerson switched positions. Emerson came over to help Alex defend against the opponent's explosive player, Sabri. Duncan, responsible for organizing and receiving passes, would roam around and couldn't handle the task of marking a player in a fixed position. In the 25th minute, Alex, with Emerson's help, successfully dispossessed Sabri and quickly advanced with the ball, launching a beautiful counter-attack. He even had a brilliant dribble in the opponent's attacking third before crossing. Anderson wasn't in position, but Ronaldo was. Unfortunately, it was a bit rushed, and his header went wide. But it was a successful counter-attack. Sabri, this season, hasn't been a regular starter for Benfica, not because of a lack of opportunities, but because his strengths are too one-dimensional. He only has speed, lacking the footwork of a top winger, making him easy to mark. After realizing Sabri's situation was difficult, Benfica shifted their attacking focus, feeding the ball to Manish on the right wing, hoping he could attack the aging Altino. But, as the story unfolded, it didn't go as the Benfica coach imagined. By the way, the Benfica coach at the time was no nobody. It was the renowned German coach, Joseph Hinks. He orchestrated the team's offensive transition. Manish did contribute a dangerous cross and a dribbling attempt on the edge of the penalty area, which had some effect. But Manish's ball handling on the field became increasingly irrational. He began to frequently engage in inappropriate physical contact with Altino. This was because Altino had been making too many small fouls lately, handling him in the waist, elbowing him, breathing on his ear, both subtle and aggressive tactics. In the 33rd minute, Manish, frustrated by Altino's pulling while running, instinctively swung his hand forcefully, striking Altino in the face. Altino immediately collapsed to the ground in pain, as if disfigured. The referee stopped the game to inquire about the situation, and the linesman described what he had witnessed. Altino's behavior was normal, but not encouraged. Manish had indeed struck the opponent in the face, and he was clearly emotional. This was a clear case of malicious foul. Yellow card. The referee shows Manish a yellow card. Manish is furious, he's arguing with the referee. The referee is being forced back by Manish. He's signaling for Manish to control his emotions, otherwise he might issue another card. Pinto comes over and takes Manish away, otherwise, Manish might have even gotten into a heated argument with the referee. Oh. In his struggle, Manish even hit Pinto, who's a bit wronged. Luckily, it's his teammate, otherwise, who knows what might have happened. Altino was also warned by the coach, but he nodded while keeping an eye on Manish. It's almost time. Manish is about to give up, he's about to transform. Chapter 195. This is the real electric bicycle. In the 36th minute, Manish was pushed down by Altino, who rushed in without stopping. This was a normal challenge. Altino would likely have been called for a foul, but not necessarily given a card. Most players will play like this in the future, mainly to prevent the player passing the ball from making forward runs or receiving passes. Manish was furious and got up to argue with Altino again. Altino, still going strong, combined his signature one fingers and in lines raw moves, puffing out his chest with a go-ahead and hit me look. The referee came over again to signal both players to calm down and sternly pulled Altino aside for a second warning. Once again, he was certain to issue a card. Altino obediently nodded again. In the 39th minute, Altino and Manish were vying for position off the ball, resulting in physical contact. While giving Manish a nudge with his elbow, Altino whispered in Manish's ear, "Didn't I tell you your long hair is beautiful?" A normal man wouldn't accept being described as beautiful. In the movie Summer Future starring Zhang Zifeng and Wu Lei, the male lead reveals his sexual orientation early on with a delighted line, "You think I'm pretty," foreshadowing future developments. "You're fucking disgusting. I'll F your whole family." Manish, having reached his limit, could no longer tolerate it. He shoved Altino aside with a shoulder thrust, then turned and pounced on him, pinning him to the ground and raising his fist to punch him. However, Altino was prepared. With a knee and a thrust to the abdomen, he flipped Manish over his head. This series of actions stunned the director. Was this WWE? Both players immediately rushed to restrain the two. Of course, some also started hurling insults at each other. This time, the referee didn't hesitate, showing yellow cards to both Altino and Manish, and looking at the other players with the cards, implying that he would give them to whoever came forward. His firm stance quelled the conflict. But what the Benfica players felt was unfair was that Manish already had a yellow card. 2 yellow cards resulted in a red card, and Manish was sent off. Pinto complained to the referee, arguing that Altino should also be sent off. However, based on the linesman's reaction, Altino's action was considered normal defending. Perhaps he did say something, but that was difficult to prove. Moreover, Manish's tackle was too aggressive. Had Altino not reacted quickly, he would likely have taken several punches. Thrusting a punch on the field is absolutely punishable by the highest penalty. The referee told Altino that if he committed another foul, regardless of the circumstances, he would receive another yellow card. Don't use your on-field experience to challenge a referee's intelligence. This time, Altino finally obeyed. He had perfectly accomplished the task Trigura had assigned him. Honestly, when he first heard about the task, he thought it was impossible. Such harassment was common for them. Occasionally, a player with a bad temper might earn a yellow card. A red card was absolutely out of the question. However, Manish was exceptionally temperamental. A player like that is really unsuitable for the forward line. Because forwards have too much contact with opposing defenders, and as the attacking player, you have to endure more fouls directed at you. The same fiery temper, but as a defender, you're not so easily provoked. Because you're more likely to use dirty tricks to bully others, you're the one who benefits, so why would you get angry? What? You say you're defending Neymar? Never mind then. Neymar naturally has a weak expression, a simple fake can infuriate a defender, causing them to act irrationally. But looking at Neymar's career, especially in major tournaments, this kind of provocation is a lose-lose situation. It's more beneficial for the defender to provoke the attacker. He is indeed an excellent defender. With that kind of personality, Trigura said thoughtfully. Altino? He was selected for the Portuguese first division team in his early years, the assistant coach said. No, I'm talking about Manish, Trigueros said. After Manish's red card, Benfica played with 10 men and could only proactively tighten their formation. The game instantly became Moreirense's possession. In the 42nd minute, Ronaldo once again dribbled past Acunavo, entered the penalty area, and delivered a cutback pass. Deng Kai, without controlling the ball, took a shot. The ball deflected off Benfica's centre-back Feliciano, hit the post, and bounced out. Moreirense was getting closer and closer to scoring. In the 45th minute, Alex, dribbling down the right flank and finding no good crossing opportunities, passed back to Emerson. Emerson passed to Deng Kai, prompting Deng Kai to reissue the pass. This pass was slightly weak, with a slow ball speed. Benfica midfielder Kandalov saw an opportunity to intercept and immediately moved forward. Deng Kai half-turned to hold off Kandalov. He was no longer the short man he once was. Moreover, he had been doing strength training for some time, and his core strength had improved considerably. He let the ball pass, flicked it. Deng Kai turned and dribbled past Kandalov, launching an attack directly through the middle. Facing the defensive midfielder Andrade at the edge of the penalty area, Deng Kai suddenly started a step over. The bicycle kick was incredibly fast, reminiscent of the electric bicycle kick Deng Kai had crashed in the previous match. That video had gone viral, and even Andrade was worried for Deng Kai. But this time, Deng Kai didn't crash. While his electric bicycle kick wasn't particularly deceptive, Deng Kai suddenly flicked the ball to the right. The ball flew diagonally into the right side of the penalty area. Oh dear. Deng Kai's zombie-like bicycle kick didn't crash, but his final touch was too heavy. Unless he's much faster than Andrade, this is a sure goal. The key is that the left center-back Feliciano is also very close to the ball. He'll touch it before Deng Kai. Deng Kai is past him. Deng Kai's speed was incredible. He outmaneuvered Andrade. Deng Kai's move was bang. The ball flew towards the Benfica goal. The next moment, Deng Kai, who had caught up with the ball and completed his shot, collided with Feliciano, who rushed to defend. Deng Kai felt like he'd hit a wall, bounced in the opposite direction, landed, rolled a few times, and curled up in pain. But his first instinct was to open his eyes and look into the goal. The net was still swaying, and the ball was bouncing inside the goal. Goal. Deng Kai. Deng Kai scores. This is our Caesar. 1-2, Moreirense has pulled one back. Now, they have at least 50 minutes to score their next goal. The Moreirense players are ecstatic, and the Sporting Lisbon fans in the stadium are ecstatic too. Chapter 196 Coach Kai and Special Famous Coach. Despite still trailing, they firmly believe they can take a victory from the Estadio da Luz. Oh. Deng Kai signaled to his teammates not to celebrate with him. He needs to sit on the ground and catch his breath. That collision was quite hard, especially considering Deng Kai's rapid run. That shot was absolutely perfect, full of power. It's just that the previous step-over wasn't very effective. If it had been a pure step-over, Deng Kai might have been able to shake off the defender. Deng Kai disagreed with the commentator's assessment. Without the step-over, he wouldn't have been able to catch the ball, and even if he had, he wouldn't have been able to score. That goal was extremely difficult. Neither side scored again, and the game went into halftime. Trigueros made a substitution at this time, replacing today's hero, Altino, with a proper left back, Seraphim. With the opponent missing a right winger, Moreirense's left side attack was significantly weakened. Seraphim was brought on to improve Moreirense's attack and allow him to provide more support for Ronaldo. After the start of the second half, Seraphim was relatively active, frequently making runs forward. In the 54th minute, after a series of passes with Ronaldo, Seraphim crossed from the byline. The opponent headed the ball away. Emerson volleyed it, gifting a goal to the fans in the stands. In the 62nd minute, Moreirense ganged up on Benfica, and Duncan, as usual, chipped the ball to Alex at the right far post, who crossed again. Unfortunately, Anderson was pushed and didn't generate enough power, almost twisting his ankle upon landing. The team doctor briefly came on to check his condition. During this time, Trigueros had the team warm up, but he realized the team lacked a dominant center forward to replace Anderson. After Manish left the field, Moreirense took control, and under Duncan's distribution, the team attacked down both wings, with the fullbacks frequently crossing. Without a dominant center forward, it's difficult to convert this advantage into goals. Benfica's ground defense is very strong. Unless Duncan has another breakout performance, the team will find it difficult to launch attacks through the middle. At this moment, Duncan walked over, take Flavio off, bring on a center back. The assistant coach thought he misheard, we're still down by 1 goal, not leading by 1. Why are we putting on 5 defenders so early? Trigueros, however, realized, you mean, to push our tallest player into the opponent's penalty area? Duncan nodded, yes, Font's heading is very good, and he's the tallest player on the team. The assistant coach thought this was absurd. Font was a center back. But Trigueros immediately made the decision, played the substitution card, and sent Orlando to relay a message to Font. The biggest difference between Trigueros and Maxa is that Maxa only knows how to follow Coach Duncan's instructions, while Trigueros can enrich and complete the tactics based on Coach Duncan's suggestions. This is the true ability of a great coach. Moreira substituted center-back Orlando for right-winger Flavio. Anderson, after being examined, was confirmed to be fine and continued to play. Meanwhile, Moreirense's center-back Font moved to Flavio's position, or rather, further inside the penalty area, essentially forming a 2-striker formation with Anderson. Moreirense's intentions were clear to everyone. Cross, header, smash it. In the 68th minute, Deng Kai, on the right wing and undercover by Alex, delivered a cross. Font's header hit the crossbar, giving the Benfica goalkeeper a scare. Haynes isn't a coach with a strong personal style, he prioritizes team execution and tactical discipline. And the team executed these very well today. He told them to retreat, and the team retreated. He told them to focus on winning headers and defending in the penalty area, and not give Deng Kai any more opportunities to attack through the middle, and the team huddled heavily in the penalty area. In the 76th minute, Seraphim made a whimsical pass to the near post, which was intercepted and immediately led to counter-attack. Veteran Pinto feinted a shot, fooling Orlando, but his subsequent shot was saved by Kilip's tackle. If Pinto were 5 years younger, Kilip might not have needed to come over, but he is indeed slower than before. In the 79th minute, Deng Kai dribbled to the right, passing the ball to Alex in succession, then chipped it to the byline. Alex sprinted to catch up and crossed a ball. However, the ball was deflected by a defender and flew towards Deng Kai. Deng Kai met the incoming ball with a quick cross. No one in the penalty area was ready. Anderson hadn't even gotten into position, but seeing the low trajectory of the ball, he jumped at the near post, blocking the defender behind him. The ball flew over his head. But without his feint, the ball would have been cleared by the defender behind him. Bang! Font jumped about 3 meters behind Anderson. Anderson also blocked his view. But as an excellent header player, there's a crucial tip: don't wait until you see the ball coming before jumping. Jump when you think the ball is coming. The difference lies in the fact that if there's an obstruction in front of you, jumping after you see the ball is often too late. However, if you ignore the players who might touch the ball and jump single-mindedly, you can reach it even if you can't see it, provided the players in front don't head it. This technique is often used when more than one player can touch the ball in a single pass. Duncan particularly favors this multi-point threatening passing style. This led Trigueros to instruct Moreirense that all attackers in Duncan's passing lanes must react with a shot the instant the ball arrives, without thinking things like, he should be able to reach it, so I won't move. Swish! Font's header was powerful, because he had already positioned himself. Even without a flick of the head, the ball accurately entered the goal area. Another goal. Moreirense has equalized. This time, it's center-back Font, playing as the center-forward, who has equalized for them. This was a textbook substitution. Moreirense, playing with one less player, capitalized on their advantage in crosses from the wings, launching a barrage of high balls. Although Benfica's defense isn't lacking in height, they couldn't withstand the onslaught from the opponent's 2 towering players, both around 1.9 meters tall. Font. The more than 20,000 Sporting Lisbon fans in the stadium finally remembered that this was one of their loaned-out players and began cheering for Font. Font's tense mood, which had been awkward throughout the match, finally eased. It turned out he wasn't completely socially awkward. When many people called his name, he actually felt good, not embarrassed. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 197 Forgot to blow the whistle. So, A large part of social anxiety stems from not being good enough. If you were truly good enough, you could cure it. Of course, there's another part of social anxiety unrelated to being good enough, that's incurable. There's no cure. In the 85th minute, Akunavo, the Barcelona player eliminated after being thrashed by Ronaldo throughout the game, finally showcased a La Masia specialty, not diving, but using his exquisite technique to dribble past Ronaldo and Seraphim, passing the ball to Pinto. Pinto had space to shoot, but he passed again, a precise through ball. A through pass and a diagonal run. Left winger Sabri, the speedster, made a precise run, received the ball one-on-one in the penalty area, and unleashed a curling shot. The ball went over the far post and wide. It didn't curl. The ball's curve wasn't enough. Sabri immediately knelt on the ground, clutching his head, seemingly unable to believe he had missed such a one-on-one opportunity. If it were Nuno Gomes or Pinto, they would have scored at one-on-one. Sabri's finishing ability was still lacking. In the 88th minute, Benfica's left-back Ribeiro also came up. Despite being down to 10 men, they still possessed attacking capabilities. This indirectly proved Henk's tactical flaws. Does playing with 10 men against 11 mean you can't control the ball? Can't you take the initiative to attack? The answer is yes. But Henk's had his team play a tight defensive game for most of the match, giving Moreirense's two less than stellar wingers a perfect opportunity to shine. Ribeiro crossed from the wing. Pinto was well positioned inside the penalty area. But when the ball flew towards him, Gillip simply stuck his head out from behind Pinto and headed it out of the box. Moreirense's defensive line had ample height, and Pinto, at only 1.73 meters, struggled to get a genuine header opportunity, no matter how well positioned he was. Messi has unparalleled ball control, even able to juggle the ball with his head in spectacular fashion, yet he has only scored 26 headers in his career. He, on the other hand, has scored 60 direct free kicks. The ball was controlled by Moreirense's defensive midfielder, Macedo, who immediately found the card-dealing player, Deng Kai. Deng Kai received the ball but didn't go through the middle. Instead, he dribbled down the right flank. He avoided the defenders in the middle, and because Ribeiro had just rushed forward, this path was unobstructed. Crucially, this route also benefited from Robben's socks. Only when Deng Kai was almost in the attacking third did a defender come to pressure him. But Deng Kai's footwork was dazzling. He executed 4 step-overs. They were ordinary step-overs, but even more deceptive. As the opponent's legs were caught off guard, Deng Kai flicked the ball through their legs with his left foot, slipping past them and completing a Robben-esque dribble. Cristiano Ronaldo, can't it be a Ronaldo-esque dribble? Deng Kai suddenly unleashed a left-footed shot from the right side of the penalty area. A very high-quality shot. But Benfica goalkeeper Santos made a crucial save. He actually managed to deny it. Ronaldo rushed into the penalty area, immediately controlling the ball, but unable to turn and shoot. He swayed his shoulders left and right twice, passing it back to Anderson near the penalty area. A perfect chance. Anderson unleashed a powerful shot. Benfica centre-back Jairo turned and blocked the ball with his back. The ball flew high towards Ronaldo. At that moment, with his back to the goal, countless shooting scenarios flashed through Ronaldo's mind, his striker's spirit burning brightly. Ronaldo leaned against his opponent, his body suddenly leaned back. Was that a bicycle kick? Bang! Ronaldo, on the left side of the penalty area, attempted a bicycle kick. The cameras all followed his foot towards the goal. Then everyone was stunned. Because there was no ball at all. Ronaldo's bicycle kick was off target. The ball didn't fly towards the goal. Instead, it flew towards Deng Kai on the right side of the penalty area. Trigueiro helplessly covered his forehead on the sidelines. What are you doing hanging upside down? Did you lose your bearings just because your head and butt switched places? Facing the incoming ball, Deng Kai had a sudden inspiration. He raised his left foot high, leaning his entire body to the right. A volley. Bang! The instant the ball flew out, Deng Kai had already raised his hands in celebration. Because he knew this wasn't an ordinary volley. This was a divine strike. Shot. Deng Kai turns and rushes towards the corner flag to celebrate. He didn't even see what happened behind him. Goal. Goal. Deng Kai scores his second goal, 3-2. Moreirense comes from behind to defeat Benfica. It's the 90th minute, and Deng Kai uses his less than favorable left foot to volley home from outside the penalty area. He even rushed towards the corner flag to celebrate before the ball went into the goal. Deng Kai leaps high, the whole stadium is cheering, come with me. Siu. The entire stadium became a sea of green and white. Sporting Lisbon fans cheered wildly, as if they had won the game themselves. They loved seeing Benfica suffer a last-minute defeat. Therefore, in the first half of their encounter, their first team lost to Benfica. Unbelievable. A Portuguese second division team beat a Portuguese first division team. Is Moreirense heading into the Portuguese Cup semi-finals? Moreirense made a substitution, replacing centre-forward Anderson with defensive midfielder Cordeiro. Anderson is already struggling to keep up. Fontes also dropped back into defense, forming a 5-4-1 formation. Moreirense needs to hold on to this hard-won lead. In stoppage time, Benfica went all out, frequently launching long balls, but with little success. Almost in the final moments, Benfica won a corner thanks to Sabri's speed. The Benfica goalkeeper abandoned his goal and went into the Moreirense penalty area to contest a header, causing the game to run well past the allotted stoppage time. This tactic, used by Manchester United goalkeeper Schmeichel last year to shield his teammate from a corner kick, has become a common last-ditch effort for many teams. If they can't win, guarding the goal is pointless. Similarly, Ronaldo also returned to the penalty area to contest a header. Akunavo took the corner. Bang! Font headed the ball away. The football flew towards Deng Kai. The referee put his whistle in his mouth, ready to stop the game. Goal! Deng Kai roared, half turning towards the ball and carelessly kicking it towards the near post. The referee, drawn by Deng Kai's voice, subconsciously looked at the ball, forgetting to blow his whistle. Because this direction was pretty accurate. Everyone looked at the football in the sky. Bang! The football landed 5 meters outside the penalty area's arc, bounced high, and continued towards the goal. Bang! It landed on the edge of the penalty area's arc. Bang! It landed on the penalty spot, then barely bounced again, slowly rolling towards the goal line. Everyone held their breath, as if breathing would affect the trajectory of the football. Chapter 198 Pinto's star player falls, the saint of football is born. Finally, the ball slowly crossed the goal line and came to a stop less than 10 centimeters inside it. This goal was incredibly difficult. But it was a genuine goal. Whistle blew, the referee pointed to the center circle, indicating the goal was valid. Before the Benfica players could complain, the referee blew the whistle again, 2 short whistles and 1 long one, and the match ended. The referee gave Benfica a chance to win, but Benfica failed to capitalize. Conversely, he gave Deng Kai a chance, and Deng Kai seized it. 3 goals, a hat-trick. Deng Kai became the youngest goalscorer and the youngest hat-trick scorer in Portuguese Cup history. Caesar returns. The king arrives. Sporting Lisbon's loaned youngster's hat-trick destroys Benfica. CD Connection shows its power again. Deng Kai's decisive strike against Benfica leads Little Sporting Lisbon into the Portuguese Cup semi-finals. The only true gout at the Estádio da Luz, Deng Kai. Deng Kai and Ronaldo, Portugal's youngest goal and assist record crusher. From last place to escaping the relegation zone, Trigueira's coaching of Moreirense has clearly been a success. Pressure on Materazzi, Sporting Lisbon's first team's performance shows no significant improvement. Hanks, the opposing player lacked professionalism. Manish's red card was completely unjust. Trigueira's instigation of the players makes it hard to believe he was once a youth coach. Manish, he said some very offensive things to me. I don't regret getting the red card, my only regret is not punching him. Deng Kai, Manish needs to calm down. Altino's defense against him was very successful. If Manish had joined Moreirense in the winter transfer window, he would be enjoying the victory with us now. This Portuguese Cup match brought Moreirense into the spotlight of Portuguese football media and the mainstream public. No one expected that going to the Portuguese second division wouldn't be a decision made by Trigueira, Ronaldo, and Deng Kai as their careers waned, but rather the beginning of their shining success. This is the Portuguese second division. This isn't a youth league, this is the professional arena. In the evaluation systems of major clubs, the weight given to players' achievements in professional matches is very high, while the weight given to achievements during youth training is quite low. This is why players like Simão and Quaresma, who only played in the Portuguese league for a year, saw their market value skyrocket from 1 or 2 million euros during their youth training to 15 or 20 million euros. You have completed a match. After the match, Deng Kai received his reward. Since entering the professional arena, Deng Kai no longer needs training cones or energy drinks. because the match reward is enough to allow Deng Kai's super training cones and Donglong special drink to achieve a perfect internal cycle. His training efficiency is now at its maximum. This match earned Deng Kai blue player skill, the triangular back pass. The triangular back pass is a common move in football, but the technical content is actually quite high. Most players widen their passing angle by half-turning, thus completing the triangular pass. The advantage is that the pass is very stable, and the teammate who receives the ball finds it easier to control or shoot. The disadvantage is that this passing method is only suitable when there are no defenders around, because the half-turn takes some time. When passing the ball, especially from the wing, the ball often gets through because you're just a fraction of a second faster than the opponent. A second too slow, and the pass is guaranteed to miss. Or the opponent's defense will likely be in position. So what do? There's another method. Without changing the passing player's body orientation, you adjust a leg swing angle, the point of contact, and a special footwork to create a relatively backward rolling triangular pass. This pass is extremely unpredictable. Compared to the previous triangular pass, which almost guarantees a chance, the latter can create an opportunity when there seems to be none. Players making runs from deep often need this type of pass to get a shooting chance, otherwise, by the time teammates' turn, everyone has already spotted your run and taken precautions. Regarding this footwork, in the 2022 Qatar World Cup knockout stage, when the Netherlands defeated the USA 3-1, both of Dumfries' passes, earning him the Man of the Match award for 1 goal and 2 assists, were this type of triangular pass. Additionally, in that match, Deng Kai also received a star player's attention, João Pinto. The glory of Portugal's golden generation, 1/5, as Portugal's golden generation reaches its peak, it is also slowly aging. They desperately want young players to take up the mantle and continue the fight. Attacking positioning +2, shooting +2. Collect all the glory to receive a generous reward. Wow! Before, only low-level items had fragments, but now, even star players drop fragments. Has Deng soon completed a 100% equity acquisition of the system? Of course, given Deng Kai's understanding of the system, this reward will probably be very generous. To collect all these glory points, he'll probably have to find a way to play against the players of Portugal's golden generation more often. Figo, Rui Costa, never mind, that's too unconvincing. Figo's Barcelona is another story. Barring any unforeseen circumstances, they'll continue to defend their La Liga title this season. Of course, there was an unexpected turn of events, finishing second, behind Deportivo La Coruña. They were also a semi-finalist in the Champions League. Rui Costa's Fiorentina finished third in Serie A last season and runners-up in the Coppa Italia. Deng Kai has no chance of encountering them in the Portuguese second division. There might be a sliver of hope if they go to the Portuguese league. Because of Deng Kai's outstanding performance, the media interviewed Sporting Lisbon's current head coach, Materazzi. Reporter, after Deng Kai, Ronaldo, and other loaned players return to the youth teams next season, do you have any plans to include them in the first team? Materazzi, your question really makes me doubt the professionalism of the Portuguese football media. What are you thinking? They're only 15. Players this age should be in the youth academy. Trigura is indeed very good at developing players, which is why he can produce so many stars. Even in the Portuguese second division, he can make Ronaldo and Deng Kai seem like future superstars. Materazzi's words are usually unintelligible to the average person, but his assistant coach, Maxi, knew the implications. After Materazzi joined the team, he brought his own coaching staff, rendering Maxi's position as chief assistant coach largely ineffective. But Maxi wasn't angry. Instead, he continued to arrive early and leave late every day. Cleaning the locker room, arranging training equipment, communicating with the players, and encouraging and reassuring them about their training and mentality. He played the role of a perfect team leader, truly giving without expecting anything in return, like a saint. He was deeply loved by the players and welcomed by his colleagues. Some even called him Saint Samara. The reason he wasn't called Saint Materazzi was to save face for Materazzi. Chapter 199 The Defects of Artificially Ripened Products. Most importantly, Maxic completely refrained from interfering with any tactical arrangements by Materazzi's coaching staff. Even when Materazzi asked him to speak, he would always smile and say, "I think your arrangements are excellent, there are even some parts I don't quite understand." This earned Maxic the friendship of Maxic. Could Maxic, a rising star in the Portuguese coaching industry who led Portugal's U15 team to a double championship and was relied upon by the previous coach, Augusto, possibly be ignorant of tactics? Absolutely not. Yet, he willingly remained subordinate to Materazzi, showing no ambition or desire for fame. This lack of self-interest is the mark of a true master. Therefore, Materazzi would share many things with Maxic, and Maxic would occasionally offer him pointers. For example, Materazzi was very keen to sign Quaresma. Quaresma's individual skills were undoubtedly excellent, but his tactical execution was somewhat weak. He tended to hold on to the ball too long. Furthermore, Quaresma's performance would plummet when the opponent increased the intensity. This is the flaw of a product prematurely developed in the Portuguese league. Augusto and Materazzi's teams haven't performed well, largely because Quaresma severely dragged down the team's attacking efficiency, and his frequent loss of possession led to defensive crises. Replacing Quaresma with a less capable right-winger would definitely improve the team's results. Materazzi, having coached teams in the world's top league, had long seen through Quaresma's true abilities. He might be genuinely talented, but he's too young and hasn't received enough experience. His reputation doesn't live up to it. Materazzi's comment about Trigueira's talent for developing players was a veiled criticism, implying that Quaresma, like Duncan and Ronaldo, was overrated. However, Maxi reminded Materazzi, the team needs Quaresma to have good statistics, to make him a superstar. But I don't need to be responsible for Quaresma's price tag, I only need to be responsible for the team's performance, otherwise I'll be the one fired, Materazzi said, not understanding Max's words. Max laughed, no, Materazzi, you and Augustus are different. Max meant that Materazzi understood tactics better and could find ways to compensate for Quaresma's weaknesses with tactics. Augustus's old-fashioned tactics were outdated and even required Max's tactical expertise. The two were obviously different. But Materazzi misunderstood. He said, you mean, someone like Augustus, an unknown with no resources, can only rely on the team. But I'm different. A coach with excellent resources, even if I lead a team to a championship in the Portuguese league, won't be recognized by the mainstream giants. However, if I have a knack for developing and utilizing young stars, I have a good chance of returning to a top club. AC Milan's Shevchenko, Inter Milan's Ronaldo, Barcelona's Simeo and Xavi, Real Madrid's Raul, Guti, and Casillas, they're all still young. The major clubs are all looking for a coach who can manage these young superstars. I understand. Thank you, Maxa. You've shown me the way forward. Materazzi was extremely grateful. Maxi was completely bewildered. He meant that Materazzi had a bigger name than Augusto, and having taken over mid-season, the team certainly wouldn't fire him after half a season of poor results. Once Quaresma left in the summer, wouldn't he be able to properly build the Sporting Lisbon he wanted? How did this turn into a return to a top club? February 24th. Portuguese 2nd Division, Round 19, Moreirense vs Gondomar. Some might remember this team. Gondomar's coach was none other than Augusto, who had been dismissed by Sporting Lisbon during the winter break. The media had dug up all these stories about the conflict between Augusto and Trigler over the Sporting Lisbon coaching position, with Trigler losing the competition and being relegated to the youth academy. In a pre-match interview, Augusto stated, Ronaldo and Duncan were indeed excellent in the youth academy, but it's premature to praise them after they entered the professional arena. He continued, the same goes for Trigueira, he's an excellent youth coach, but not necessarily an excellent head coach. Apart from Maxija, it's difficult for youth coaches to make this transition because the priorities are completely different. Augusto offered a scathing critique, and he certainly had the right to. However, Record uncovered a bombshell. The competition between the two extends beyond the head coach role to the issue of legacy. Record, it is well known that Augusto particularly admires his assistant coach, Maxi, who has thus gained widespread fame as a rising star in the Portuguese coaching profession. It is reported that several Portuguese league teams have already extended offers to Maxi, but he has rejected them all. Some believe Maxi is waiting for the position of manager at Sporting Lisbon, while others think he could also be persuaded to take the managerial positions at Porto and Benfica. Others believe Maxi might want to start his coaching career with the national team. If Portugal doesn't achieve satisfactory results in this European Championship, Maxi is very likely to take the reins of the national team, beginning the first chapter of his legendary career. Sporting Lisbon's first team manager, Materazzi, also highly praises Maxi. But actually, Messi was initially promoted by Trigueros. He can be considered Trigueros' protege. Augusto considers himself Messi's mentor. Messi is destined to become a great coach. Whether he will ultimately belong to Augusto's faction or Trigueros is perhaps one of the core points of contention between the two. Now that the two are facing off in the Portuguese second division, a fierce battle is inevitable. Isn't this just a coincidence? And similar to Quaresma's experience with Sporting Lisbon's first team, Ronaldo has recently been feeling the pressure in the Portuguese second division. It's not just about the opponent's overly aggressive tackles and the referee's subjective leniency towards older players fouling younger ones. There are also issues with the overall rhythm and pressure. Ronaldo has overcome some of these, but there are others he still needs to overcome. This match is a perfect example. At the start of the game, Gondoma played very aggressively, creating an attacking situation with more urgence. However, Trigueros and Deng Kai had previously studied Augusto's tactics. Influenced by Messi, Augusto has become a star player. Gondoma's entire tactic revolves around their number 9 striker. This led to a winning streak after the winter break. In lower-level competitions, star player-centric tactics are the most effective. But this tactic also has significant flaws. Chapter 200 Luo, Inzaghi is far inferior to you. Robert Lewandowski is notorious for his poor performance in big games, which has led to constant criticism of him. However, this can be seen as a classic example of the flaws of star player mentality. The center forward is the most typical example of star player mentality. As a center forward, once targeted, it's easy to lose possession. Without the ball, a shooting machine can't perform. The national team's overall weakness and tactical limitations prevented Lewandowski from creating the attacking environment he enjoyed at Dortmund and Bayern Munich. Without other stars stepping up when Lewandowski is targeted, he has no chance to recover. Looking at Cristiano Ronaldo after leaving Real Madrid in this light, you'll see why Lewandowski isn't widely recognized. He's essentially a weaker version of Ronaldo at this stage of his career. And Ronaldo at this stage was, in fact, a regressed version. Back on the pitch, Moreira firmly implemented his tactic of cutting off all passing lanes to the center forward. In the 7th minute, Messi successfully intercepted the ball. In the 11th minute, Messi again intercepted a pass to the number 9 center forward. In the 13th minute, Deng Kai made an interception and sent a long pass to Ronaldo, but Ronaldo was pushed out of bounds and fell while accelerating. After more than 10 minutes of probing, both sides discovered each other's tactics. Augusto saw Moreira's strategy of tightly marking his number 9. Trigueros also saw that Gondomar was using physicality to further bully Ronaldo today. The intense physical confrontation, without direct fouls or tackles, was mainly aimed at affecting Ronaldo's dribbling and ball control. It seemed gentle, but it actually made Ronaldo uncomfortable. If you foul directly, Ronaldo can draw a foul. This kind of high-intensity, non-foul approach, constantly harassing Ronaldo, makes him extremely uncomfortable. It's clear that these are problems that Augusto discovered when he coached Quaresma. Augusto isn't incompetent, his tactical philosophy is simply outdated, fundamentally different from Messi's. Gondomar, for the time being, cannot solve the same problem. Their players are still stubbornly passing the ball to their number 9 center forward. The number 9 striker also made his efforts by dropping back and moving wide. However, he didn't understand that it didn't matter what he did, no matter what he did or where he was targeted by multiple Moreira's players. Unless other players could utilize his attraction to create threats in other positions. But if Gondomar had that kind of star player, would Augusto still be targeting the number 9 striker? The weaker Lewandowski actually fared better as a striker than the stronger Ronaldo, largely because Manchester United lacked other strong attacking options. Perhaps they did have, but because of Ronaldo's immense influence, in a positive sense, these players spontaneously sought to find Ronaldo in attack, thus losing their own threat. Or perhaps, due to Ronaldo's immense influence, in a negative sense, these players couldn't play entirely according to their own ideas, eventually playing increasingly awkwardly, unsure when to take matters into their own hands and when to look for Ronaldo. Even if you did do what you wanted, you couldn't help but worry about whether your relationship with Ronaldo would be affected after the match. Sometimes, off-field anxieties have a more profound impact than on-field events. Therefore, when you don't understand a player's performance on the field, off-field factors might be key. Similar issues have almost always occurred within the Argentine team. However, unlike Gondoma, Moirants has a player who can almost completely isolate them from the interference of the team's top stars, and doesn't worry about it affecting their off-field relationships. Deng Kai. Every team has unhappy players, the key is who can resolve that unhappiness. In the 19th minute, Gillip made a crucial interception in the backfield, once again blocking the opposing number 9 striker, and then passed the ball to the retreating Deng Kai. Deng Kai feinted a long ball, sending Ronaldo flying on the left wing, while the defender also tried to block Deng Kai's pass. Deng Kai then reversed the play, moving directly to the right wing. On the right, Deng Kai and Alex exchanged short passes, and after passing midfield, Deng Kai repeated his tactic, looking towards the penalty area but sending a forward through ball. Alex successfully reached the byline and crossed a ball. Bang! Anderson, who had been waiting in the penalty area, unleashed a powerful header that shattered the defense of Gondoma. Moirants took a 1-0 lead. From the moment of the interception, Ronaldo made at least 3 runs back and forth on the left flank, raising his hand to call for the ball 5 times. Deng Kai glanced over twice and noticed Ronaldo 4 times out of the corner of his eye, but not once did he pass the ball to Ronaldo. Was Ronaldo upset? Of course. When Anderson jumped to head the ball, Ronaldo had already spread his hands and complained. Because Alex's shot wasn't aimed at him at the far post, but at the more competitive middle post. But then the ball went in, and Ronaldo could only awkwardly raise his hands, turning his complaint into celebration. In the celebration, a more composed Ronaldo knew that it wasn't easy for Alex to see the far post. He didn't have that ability, did he? Alex, a jerk here? But Deng Kai did. Seeing but not passing is the real villain. So, in his celebration, Ronaldo seemingly unintentionally moved closer to Deng Kai. Before Ronaldo could even react, Deng Kai came over and showered him with praise. Your running and movement are fantastic. You're starting to resemble Inzaghi more and more, but he's not as fast as you. Ronaldo forced a smile and calmly replied, don't say that, his shooting is pretty good. Deng Kai, that's true, but your shooting is even better. Ronaldo shook his head, turned and left, then his smile completely crumbled. He was happier than if he'd scored. Deng Kai turned around and shrugged slightly. Honestly, Ronaldo is so easy to please. If any of the young players at Juventus, Manchester United, or Portugal knew how to appease a kid, especially their coaches and strong wingers, their records would skyrocket. Bruno Fernandes is a bit slow, playing under Ronaldo's shadow for a whole season before gradually waking up. Unfortunately, it was too late. Manchester United had already thoroughly enraged Ronaldo through Rangnick and Ten Hag. This 3-year-old may be easy to fool, but you still have to. You didn't even bother with pretense and just resorted to dirty tricks. If I, Ronaldo, can tolerate this, then why did you leave Real Madrid? In the 26th minute, Gondoma's number 9 striker showcased his ability, receiving the ball, dribbling past opponents, and outmaneuvering Kirip. Unfortunately for him, Font was already waiting in the wings, easily intercepting the ball with a simple kick. Font passed the ball to Deng Kai. Deng Kai launched a long ball from the backfield directly to Anderson. Ronaldo was calling for the ball, but Anderson didn't have the skill, so he could only pass it back to Emerson. Seeing this, Ronaldo immediately started his forward run. Emerson, as expected, played a through ball to Ronaldo. Ronaldo received the ball and gained a favorable position, but was then surrounded by the opposing center-back. The defender didn't try to tackle him directly, just pushed and shoved. But this was much more difficult for Ronaldo to handle than a direct tackle. End of this chapter. Thank you so much for reading until the end. Don't forget to give it a like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription or donation encourages us to continue. Thank you all. See you in the next video.